How's it going, everyone? Welcome to episode 37 of the ControllerCast. My name is Ursula, joined as always by Senior Andy Eisenhower, Andrew Ihausen, and Jonathan Bradley Wood, Johnny B. Wood, but also joined today by a friend of ours, a guest, our second guest, Thaddeus Harper. How's it going, Thad? As always, we run through, how we've been the past week. Thad, feel free to talk about any recent goings in life. And then from there, we go into the current events. And then from there, we go on to the main topic. So Thad, since you're a guest, start us off with what have you been up to in life recently?
Bet. Well, Thad Harper again. Friends with John, met you guys through John at John's wedding last year. So that's how we got all acquainted. Got married last year. Just got a house. So life's been grand over here, trying to stay warm and do some ice fishing. So other than that, nothing really going on.
Yeah, I saw on your Snapchat you were ice fishing yesterday. That's pretty lit.
We were catching slabs.
Is that shit where you're like on a frozen lake?
Yeah,
you got the
drill an 8-inch hole in the water. Yeah, pretty much.
Nice. Did you catch anything?
Yeah, we caught about 20 bluegill and a couple bass, but we didn't keep anything. We threw them all back.
Nice.
We were out at Jordy's parents' house. So
is there anything there that you can eat? Can you eat any of those?
Yeah.
Nice.
Because
I know there's certain fish that taste like shit, or like they're filled with shit.
Yeah.
Like the bottom dwellers.
Yeah, catfish are good. Just depends on if they're clean or muddy or not, depending on where you catch them. Usually in the river, you don't know.
Yeah, what kind of fish are you finding out over there in Mo Valley?
Right? Mo Valley, pretty much everything around here: bass, bluegill, walleye,
salmon?
Crappie. Nope, we don't have no salmon down here.
I think salmon are ocean fish.
That's why I had to ask. I was like, "You making some sushi?"
Nope.
Nice.
Not at all. We had a slow duck season, so that didn't really produce much. Chief got his first retrieve, so that was cool. All the training paid off. So.
And Chief's your black lab?
Yep, he'll be 2 in July. So.
Oh my gosh, he's already almost 2?
Yeah, right. We've already had him for 2 years.
That's insane. Oh my gosh, you guys got him at like 6 weeks too, didn't you? Like when you could take him home.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we went out and drove 4 hours and picked him out, and then about 2 months later, we drove back out there and brought him home. So.
Is it a cat or a dog or something else? Snake.
Yeah, dude, he's got a cat out. He's got a cat out there retrieving
ducks, man.
He's got a pet tarantula retrieving ducks.
The snake just like coils around it and just drags it with it back.
Yep.
That's awesome.
What about you, President Eisenhower?
It's not been too crazy of a week. I got promoted this week, so that's an exciting development in my personal life.
Woo!
So
congrats.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Besides that, not a whole ton. I was just working all week, and all the ControllerCast contributors are on the Fortnight grind for whatever reason.
Yeah, buddy.
The game's having a renaissance, it seems.
While simultaneously shitting on Rocket League now.
Yeah, friendship ended with Rocket League. Fortnite, new best friend. I think that game, for how cringe it was at the start, like when it first was popular, like I feel like that and like Warzone, especially like doing like hardcore comms and like having to be an actual team makes it more fun than Rocket League. Just being like, I got ball, and then John, like I center it for John, and then he's like, oh, not there, fuck, and that's it. That's all they comms.
I am in the back left corner getting boosted. Sorry.
I've never played Fortnite, honestly.
You should download it. You should get on there with us. It's I had played it like for like 2 days prior to this week, and it's pretty easy to pick up. I'm not very good at third-person shooters usually, which is why I'm surprised that I'm so much better at this than like Warzone. But
yeah, it's a lot easier than Warzone.
It is a lot easier than Warzone.
I need to get that building down. I need to figure out how to build like a fucking castle like on command when I'm getting shot.
I can do that almost, but like it just doesn't make a difference.
I
still
also
get
think
through.
it's this week I've been like grinding all the daily challenges and season challenges because I want to get the Spider-Man costume. So I've been like putting hella time in and just like dropping in and like doing like objectives and not even caring and still finishing like top 5 somehow.
When I focus too much on the objectives, I get screwed. I get like top 15.
Yeah, I can tell even like me and John playing, we're like progressively like inching out of bot lobbies because now we like are actually getting like cooked if we like look the wrong way.
Yeah, I played solo and got murked.
Like
Me and John got
one open area. We go out in one open area and we're just like toast immediately.
Yeah, we got 6th place this morning, which is not bad. We got ambushed by like 3 different teams at one time, and we almost got all of them down. We got everybody except the last Spider-Man, and he killed us.
It's always a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, but
I want
anyways,
damn pictures of Spider-Man.
I know. I've been yeah, it's kind of cool because they have like the Daily Bugle in the game, which is like kind of a cool little Easter egg. But I always get wrecked there because it's like so many huge buildings, and then there's so many Spider-Man webs and hands everywhere. Other than that, just counting down the days till Pokemon Legends Arceus comes out on Friday. So hearing pretty good things so far. So I am looking forward to it this week. Finally,
Is that a game or?
Yeah, it's like yeah. Have you've seen like Breath of the Wild, like the Zelda game?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like trying to make a Pokemon game that's in that like style, not like true open world, more like a hub world type of thing where you go out and do missions. But supposedly it like leaked online, so people have been playing it with emulators and stuff.
What?
And like there's a bunch of game reviewers that have been saying that it's like one of the best Pokemon games that they've made in a while. So
is that for Switch or what's that?
Yeah, it's for Switch. It's coming out on the Switch. So I'm they haven't had a real like banging Pokemon game since like the DS. So hopefully hopefully this one catches us back up. But I'm very excited for it. So maybe next week I'll have some initial thoughts on it. Hopefully.
It drops Friday, right?
Yeah, I ordered it from Amazon because I had a bunch of gift cards, so I didn't even really pay for it. So hopefully it actually comes on Friday and it doesn't get delayed, but
that's clutch.
Should have some initial thoughts next week if Amazon comes through and delivers at the release day like they said they would.
This next month is going to be like the most stacked month of the whole year.
Because we have Arceus on Friday and then Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring.
Yeah, you have you have Elden Ring, Horizon, Dying Light 2, Destiny 2, Witch Queen, fucking Pokemon Legends, Sifu. Like there's so much shit coming out. Like Uncharted, the Uncharted collection.
Oh, the Uncharted collection comes out Friday as well. Maybe I'll do that $10 upgrade on Friday and play that one, waiting for them to deliver Pokemon.
Yeah, I thought Casey and I would finish the Uncharted series before that came out, but it might be worth upgrading.
But oops, Fortnite showed up.
Oops, Fortnite.
John pulling classic John move.
Yeah, John, tell us about your week with your dual screen setup and sharing victory royales on Snapchat like you're 10.
Well,
damn, go straight for the throat.
Shots fired. Fired.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm throwing it back to 2017, throwing the victory royales on my Snapchat story. No, but for real, we played Uncharted a little bit this week. We're on Uncharted 3 at this point. But we did take a little break, not only because of Fortnite, but also because of the banging show. It should be nominated for Emmys left and right. This is probably the best show ever created, to be honest. As Ursula put it, the adult Disney show, Cobra Kai on Netflix. Actually, so good. It's so good. So if you have or haven't seen The Karate Kid, the original one, you have to watch this. It's basically a sequel of that, but like 30 years in the future. So like Danny LaRusso, the Karate Kid, he's a successful businessman and he's still into karate. And then Johnny Lawrence, his bully arch nemesis rival,
was he the bully?
Yeah, he was the main bully that got his ass kicked at the end.
Depends on how you look at it, though.
That's true.
Maybe
Exactly.
LaRusso, yeah,
Exactly.
LaRusso.
Exactly. And this show
Like,
kind of dives.
like, why is this new kid in my territory?
Exactly.
Whoop
And
his
honestly,
ass.
this show kind of dives into that. Like it's almost hard to pick sides in the show. You
Yeah.
kind of you like everyone at some points, but you kind of hate everyone at some points. But one thing's for sure, we all hate Samantha. Danny's daughter is terrible.
Have you watched it, Dad?
Not Cobra Kai, no, but I've seen all those
would
Karate
be one.
Kids. I'm old as shit, man.
Have you seen the Jaden Smith one?
I've refused to watch it.
That one was
No,
actually okay. I didn't.
No, I've
I
seen a
hate that.
little bit of it, but I haven't seen the whole thing.
Will
I
Smith
haven't
actually
seen-
is a producer for Cobra Kai. I see that every time.
Really?
If you,
Really?
well, if you know how it shows like the names like kind of like passively like at the beginning of every show, it always says like executive producer Will Smith.
Huh.
I guess I've never caught that. And I'm on season 3, episode 7 now, Ursel. So I think
Oh
we're
my
actually like
God.
at the same point.
We I think, damn, you've been watching like a season every fucking 2 days. You motherfucker.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah,
dude.
I think we are at the same point. I'm on like season 3, episode 8.
Dang. Yeah, we're probably gonna pass you then. But yeah, we've been watching that. The classic John saying, I highly recommend it. I say
Mr.
that a lot on the pod.
Mr. Miyagi always said that.
But not only that, we were also watching the Peacemaker show on HBO Max, and it's okay. If
What
you
a
like the
shining
Suicide-
recommendation.
Well, okay, if you like the Suicide Squad movie, the most recent one that came out, you will like it. It's got like the exact same humor. I don't know if it's directed, but it is produced by James Gunn and John Cena. And John Cena does a fantastic job. He's actually hilarious in it. But there are some pretty cringy moments as well, as you'd expect from a John Cena show.
Do you see John Cena?
Oh
I was
yeah,
about to just say.
I might be missing the joke, but he's the main
What?
character.
You don't
What?
know?
How do you not-
What?
Oh my God, John.
Boy, you
You
don't-
can't see me.
Oh yeah. Okay. I didn't know that was John Cena.
What?
Yeah. What? Oh my gosh.
John
He-
Cena looks like Ernest.
Dude, he's fucking huge in this show. Like his muscles are disgusting.
John looks
But-
at him and envies him.
Yeah, low key.
John has a bunch of pictures of John Cena on his mirror every day, and he's like, when he's
Yep.
flexing in the mirror, he's like, "I'll never be as good as you, John."
You
Dude,
can't see
John-
me.
John Cena's like triceps are the size of my calves. Like this dude's massive. Probably bigger than my
Well, you
calves.
never
or
do
my-
leg days, so that makes
Nah,
sense.
dude, I do leg day every day. A little bit of legs every day, whether it be deadlift or squats.
I think
do
you
a
need to
little
do a lot of legs a few days.
bit. do you do leg day, Andrew?
Well, of course you have.
Okay.
No.
My favorite leg day activity is sitting on the toilet. The perfect squat.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's the worst after leg day, though.
The most
That is the worst.
the
after
most
leg.
excruciating leg exercise is when you have like those shits that you gotta like take your clothes off and like hold on for dear life.
Oh
You're
yeah.
like your
Take
whole
all the
body is
clothes
tensed up and you're flexing. You're like you're done.
Penguin
and you're,
waddle
like-
into the bathroom.
Yeah, you're like your quads are like
Clenching
sore
for
the
dear
next
life.
day.
Oh yeah.
You're like, oh fuck, what did I do yesterday?
Oh
Well,
god.
I had Chipotle last night, so that I'm honestly kind of in a very similar situation
I saw
right now as we speak.
This morning was not fun.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Well, other than that, yeah, like Andrew said, we've been playing Fortnite. I moved the bedroom TV out to the living room, and Casey's actually into Fortnite too, so that's a lot of fun.
Fortnite.
Especially since she's not like she doesn't have like her own account or PlayStation Plus, and she just hopped on for like the first time this week. So we got
She has
like
Pink
10
Potato.
wins. We literally got like, yeah, Pink Potato. We got like 10 wins in a row since we were in bot lobbies. And she's starting to get a lot better too. Like we had a victory royale last night, our last game, and we actually weren't in bot lobbies anymore since she's played probably 20 games now. I mean, there's some bots, but she got like 4 elims and I got like 6. So I was really proud of her. But yeah, that setup, I might need to honestly get a permanent TV out there because that's a sick setup to have one TV on the TV stand and then one hanging above it.
You're gonna buy another TV for a game that you'll probably play for like a week and a half more, and then
Not necessarily.
Bro, why are you ready to put the cap on this game's lifespan so fast?
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, not necessarily for Fortnite, but like any game, any online game that we can both play. Might have to get her some PS Plus so we don't have to limit ourselves to free games. But it was a lot of fun. Considering we had COVID and we played it safe. I mean, we still kind of have symptoms, but we're like 14 days today from the start. So based on the CDC, we would have been fine to go out and about, but we just played it safe and had one more weekend at home. We did get some groceries though and masked up and shit, but yeah, we had some fun even with COVID. But we're finally excited to get out of the house this week because fuck this cabin fever shit. But what about you, Ursula? What have you been up to?
Yeah, so as very similar to your week, John. I've been watching at Miyagi-Do. It's about the karate.
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Don't be a pussy. That's yeah, I've been watching Cobra Kai, and yes, I got you into it, John. I don't know if you would say that, but yeah, we've been watching it. John has caught up to me, as you know, we were saying, like I've been watching it a little bit slower. We watch usually like a couple episodes a night. We haven't been able to watch it as much, just because we've been all like super busy. But yeah, it's a great show, ironically and unironically, depending on like the specific moment that is occurring in the show. Some of the shit, it's just I don't know. The show's a complete meme, to be honest. But it's like strangely very like I said last week, it's a meme, but and it, you know, it's arguably not like a well-made show. It's like very standard, but there's something that draws you into it. And it's I don't know what it is.
Those charming characters.
Yeah, it's probably that. Like I said, like I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's like an X factor to the show that just keeps you coming back. I would love to do an episode on it at one point because I think it's such a fucking meme. Especially that season, like it goes
the season finale of
yeah.
season 2.
Yeah, it's so like 0 to 100 and like so fucked up. Like it's like hard to watch at one point, and like it gets dark, and it's like, bro, like I don't know, like the show goes to some like very like strangely dark places. But yeah, like John said, as I mentioned to him, it's imagine like a Disney Channel show where they're allowed to say fuck. That's like what it is.
Yeah, and it's like TV 14, but they get a couple of F-bombs out here and there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they talk about like relatively adult things too, but it's just funny because it's just like the show is about two competing karate dojos, and they've like these two dojos view this shit like they're actually like in a war, like they're on the front lines of like in Iraq or some shit. Like it is like life or death going on with these two karate dojos. But it's like, and it's so funny because if you ever stop to think about it, it's like these guys are like acting like this, and this is just karate. Like imagine if you like at your high school or at your college or whatever, you had like two cliques that were acting like this. It would be the most absurd shit in the world, but you buy into it. Like the show gets you on board with the fact that you're watching a show about like two competing karate dojos for fucking life or death, which is its greatest accomplishment. So I mean that I'm kind of going on a fucking Cobra Kai fucking review here, but I'll save my thoughts. But yeah, watch it. It's good, feel good show. From there, I've been replaying God of War. We were talking about that next week. You know, honestly, I wasn't that like into like ready. Like I was like once I started playing it, I was like, you know, we'll see if I actually am gonna replay this whole thing. And you know, the start. I mean, I'll just say this: like the start is a little bit slower.
Really,
but honestly, once you do get past that first hour or two, it does. Like even like this is my third time playing it. It does draw you back in, like I feel like really well. And playing it at 4K 60 FPS on PS5, fucking primo. It's so nice.
It's
And
tasty.
it
It's
makes
so
me
tasty.
makes me so excited for Ragnarok. But obviously, I'll save my thoughts for that next week. And then finally, yes, Fortnite as well. We've all been talking about these Fortnite. I'll just say this from my perspective: we were playing Rocket League as a group for the past 2 years.
Literally like 2 years.
And honestly, Andrew, you described it really well. I've been really, and I think that's kind of why my disconnect with Rocket League was happening for the past like few years. I really have been getting into those games where you need that like those strategic comms, and you kind of be like on your guard and really playing as a team. And you all got to like have your guard up, and you all got to be on the same page. And it really, when you get those comms together and everyone's working like a well-oiled machine, and you get that dub, that's like kind of the games I've been really into like the past few years. I feel like that was missing with me with Rocket League. But obviously I don't play at as high of a level as like maybe John does, or Andrew.
I'm
But
okay.
yeah.
I mean, the comm still isn't there no matter how high up you get.
I peaked at Platinum 3. But yeah,
But-
I mean, the comms get there in like pro level. But like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
at the level
we're not pro
I'm at,
level.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely
It's-
far from that.
as a BR, not a veteran, but someone who's I'm essentially playing all the BRs right
Enthusiast.
now. Yeah, enthusiast. It's exciting to see John Wood himself attempting to get good at a game that is not Rocket League. It's the first time I've seen it for a game, I think. It's a beautiful thing.
Hey, he made an attempt when
Yeah.
me and him started playing Cold War.
I did.
Oh yeah.
And I was getting okay. Yeah, I'm in the same boat where I'm a little bit tired of Rocket League too, because for the same reasons as you guys, it's a little stale. And honestly, unless you have like a buddy to play with or two people, like friends
It's
to
not
play
fun with random people.
it is not fun
It
with
sucks.
random people.
It's-
It actually has like the most toxic player base of any game, which is, I mean, I add to it.
Yeah,
but-
we contribute.
we contribute, but like it is terrible. You will literally, like, I played a random 2v2 with just a random person in competitive. We got scored on once in the first like 2.5 minutes. It was 1-0 after 2.5 minutes, and my teammate quit. He literally quit. He abandoned the match. I'm like, how are you supposed to have fun doing that shit? But yeah, I'm glad to get off Rock League for a little bit. I won't quit it completely though.
Well, I'm willing to dry out the Fortnite bug for as long as possible.
Down. I love it. I love it. I'm trying to grind for that Spidey.
No, I've actually been enjoying it a lot. That's kind of like the main thing I want to say is I did not think I would have as much fun as I've been having. And honestly, it also helps that like 5 of my friends are playing it right now. But the only thing I'll say I don't love is I do think the onboarding is like very generous. Like I feel like we've been rocking the fuck out of the game like the past like week and a half. And I feel like, now I'm starting to see lobbies that are getting tougher, but it's kind of like, damn, you have to get like fucking 30 wins till you start getting out of bot lobbies.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
I think from my perspective, like it would be nice to have that pace increased a little. But I know why they do it. I like if you're coming into Fortnite for the first time, which Casey's account, that's what it's being recognized as. Tana's account, that's what it's being recognized as. They want to make sure that you're coming in and you're not just being overwhelmed and getting your shit rocked. They want to make sure you have like a chance. So I get why they do it.
It's smart.
Yeah. And I mean, like Andrew said, like we all said, the more we play, it's gonna get harder. And like, yeah, when I play by myself or like when I play with Zen or something like that, it's not easy. Like you gotta grind for that win.
Yesterday, I played 8 matches. I won one match out of the 8 that I played. Even
Yeah,
with,
Thad,
like,
Thad, you got to start playing so we can get in more bot lobbies and get.
I know.
Yeah,
It's like when I
It's like
started
a-
playing Rocket League and you guys were just smashing everybody.
yeah,
Yeah,
true,
dude.
true.
It's like a pyramid scheme. Just
Yeah.
get someone new into Fortnite so you can keep getting bot lobbies.
exactly. Get those dubs up.
But speaking of games, terrible transition. I was trying to find a good transition.
Well, I got one more thing. Hold on. You guys are
Yeah,
talking
go
about
ahead.
games that you've been playing about. I've been playing Shadow of Mordor, dude.
Oh, that's a great name.
Yeah,
So-
that's the
so
first
it's-
one, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's great that we're talking about this now. It's kind of hard to get the hang of, but once you do, it's fun.
That game
Yeah.
had a really unique system that for some reason no other game decided to steal. The
I
whole
know.
orc like hierarchy system.
Mhm.
That could have been in
And
so
it's-
many other games.
Oh man, and yeah, like once you get killed by one orc, that orc will like challenge another one in the system, and the orc army's upgrading as you upgrade too. So it's
Yeah.
it's
I remember when
al-
that game
always
first came
changing.
out. I remember when that game first came out, people were talking about that mechanic. Like, guys, just wait. Like that mechanic is gonna be like the staple, like that's gonna be stolen and used. And like that's like back then, back in 2014, people were like, this is next gen.
Mhm.
Like and it's kind of funny how I think they patented that mechanic, which is crazy. So no one can use that mechanic. So it
Yeah.
kind of killed it off. I was kind of surprised, which I think patenting game mechanics is the dumbest shit. But that's a topic for another day.
You
But
bet.
yeah, great game. Great game.
Good game.
It's a
Good
great
game.
game. I haven't played it in a few years, but when I was playing it, it was really fun. And it's got all the Lord of the Rings characters and shit. Like,
And also,
I think Gollum is it. Yeah.
Patrick got a PlayStation 2 for Christmas from my mom's boyfriend.
oh my gosh, the classic,
Dude, Lord of the Rings 2 Towers, man, is one of the games. he
Oh
got.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
dude.
So I've been slaying that too. And I'm
Those
like, this
old
is
Lord of
such
the
a
Rings games.
nostalgia. The graphics are terrible.
Why did everyone play that game? When I
don't
was
know.
watching Fellowship, I was watching it with my friend that's crashing gear, and we were both talking about that Two Towers game. Like, hey, remember how fucking good that shit was?
Yeah, I know. That's
Dude, I
like
played
when
that
we
with Ben
watched.
Giebelhausen. Way
When I
back
was
in the
watching
day.
Lord of the Rings with Brittany, I was like, dude, this is just like the game. This is crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
The game was.
I miss my
awesome.
PS2. Simpsons Hit and Run. Ooh, best game. That's actually like
Twisted
the best
Metal.
game ever. Twisted Metal. Dude, the
Mm.
PS2 is fire. I need
Oh,
to get
dude.
it back from my parents.
Yeah, my dad sold my PS2 and my PS3. I'm so
I
pissed off.
still have a PS2. I don't have any cords for it, but I still have the actual console.
You have the fat one or the skinny one?
Skinny.
I had the
Amazon,
fat,
bro.
but it
Amazon to
shat.
get all the cords.
Yeah, I probably could, but I
How
That's
much do you
where I
think a
got 'em.
PS2 sells for?
probably not that much.
Probably not much. There's so many of them.
There's like 160 million of them floating around the earth. So
PS2 shopping.
eBay.
PS2 $75 used. $1,800. What the fuck?
Bro, is that like a box one or something?
Sony PlayStation 2 game console, $1,800 on eBay. Then there's another one, Sony PlayStation 2 for the Sony PlayStation 2 Black original console, PS2 in box sealed bundle, $10,000, $500.
Whoa.
$10,000, 500.
Y'all, we need to like.
So how much is
$10,500.
the PS1 then?
Oh my
I don't know.
god.
But some of these are like some of these
PS1 might not be very much because they just made that PS1 classic.
True,
Mm.
true.
Silent Hill 2 on PlayStation 2 boxed, $20,000.
Jesus
PlayStation
Christ.
2. What a legendary generation. And you know what other
Yeah.
console debuted in that generation? That the Xbox, who now owns Activision.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
That was
Perfect
crazy.
transition. Thank you, Andrew.
Full circle.
So let's get into the current events, which this might not seem like a big deal, and we're gonna probably make it seem like a big deal because it is a fucking big deal. It's probably like the biggest fucking gaming news since we started the show for sure, but also in a long time. This is like a top 5, top 3 gaming news of like all time. So let's talk about it. In I believe the biggest M&A merger and acquisition ever in the gaming space, Microsoft, which is Xbox, purchased Activision. Which, if people don't know, Activision is the company that owns Call of Duty, owns like Overwatch, World of Warcraft, Crash Bandicoot, Guitar
The
Hero.
Naughty Dog character.
Yeah, fucking Guitar Hero. Like all of these franchises. Yeah, I think I said Overwatch, StarCraft, Diablo. These are all of these are heavy hitter fucking franchises. Some of them not maybe right now, but at some point they were heavy hitters. This is absolutely insane. Just for reference, it was probably one of the biggest gaming news stories when they bought Bethesda, and that was for like $7 billion. They bought Activision for fucking $68.7 billion. That is insane.
That is an insane amount of money. I would have
And-
thought that Bethesda would be almost worth more than Activision at this point.
Oh,
and it's
no
Call
way.
of Duty.
Yeah,
Well,
Call of
Call
Duty
of
alone
Duty.
is worth more than Bethesda.
Yeah, that's true. It's crazy.
And since then there's been some developments. Obviously, the first reaction is, holy shit, is Call of Duty going to be an Xbox exclusive? But from there, it looks like it might not be, according to Daddy Phil Spencer. But I guess I don't know. This is such a crazy topic. John, I want to get your thought. What was your first reaction when you saw this news?
I was honestly really surprised, especially considering all the terrible PR around Activision lately.
Yeah.
I almost thought it was like bad timing on Microsoft's part, because I'm like, I mean, I assume Microsoft is trying to keep their PR good, and they just bought a company that's been under fire for their terrible CEO, which hopefully it sounds like Bobby Kotick will be dropped pretty soon after the acquisition goes through, hopefully before then. But I was just honestly like, why? Like, I don't really understand the vision, and I'm sure we'll see it play out over the next couple of years, but like, I don't really understand why they're doing it. Like, it's
Game Pass.
and that's, I mean, that makes sense,
That's
but
the
like,
end goal.
you almost have to raise the price of Game Pass at that point, because aren't they already losing money on it? I guess they won't lose money though if they own every studio that's involved with Game Pass. I don't know. I mean, really, to me, the only thing that Activision is putting out that I give a shit about and I don't really care about anymore is Call of Duty. So even if they took that exclusive, and that was my initial thought, I was like, what if Call of Duty is an Xbox and PC exclusive? I don't care. I don't care. Like, take it. But they'd be silly to do that. I mean, there's 120 million PS4s out there. The PS5 would sell as many as are put out. So they'd be silly to take anything exclusive to Microsoft, really. Even like Overwatch, I think that would be a terrible idea.
I think they're
I'm
going
excited, though, in a way. In a way, I'm excited because I feel like this could actually save Call of Duty from its repetitive
annual release.
Yeah, I mean, Call of Duty hasn't really changed much, I feel like, since probably like Black Ops 3 even. So I'd like to see some different direction, but also Phil Spencer's had his share of mistakes. Who knows? I don't know if Microsoft was the company to do it. I don't know if they're the right company to take over this big acquisition. I wish Sony had the money to do it, because I feel like they'd be able to utilize those resources better.
You know, I saw a meme. You know that scene in Uncharted 4 where Nathan Drake is playing Crash Bandicoot?
Yeah.
Like I saw some tweet where it's like, so Drake was playing an Xbox exclusive.
Oh my gosh. No, honestly, I think like Andrew, or Ursula, one of you has said like this is maybe forcing Sony's hand or PlayStation's hand to like make Game Pass available on PlayStation consoles.
Yeah.
I could see that being the end goal potentially.
I still yeah. So I guess I'll, well, I mean, let's talk about, I wanted to kind of get everyone's reactions, and my reaction was Shraggy.
Draggy?
Shraggy. Andrew, what was your first reaction to kind of all this, or like what's your kind of general view when you first saw this happen? Like, what was your first reaction when that happened?
I mean, I didn't really care, honestly, because like I think I bought like 2 games from Activision like the past like 5 years, so obviously it's not a company I give a fuck about. But like, and like those 2 games were like literally like Cold War and like Tony Hawk Pro Skater Remastered, like not even games anybody gives a shit about. But like, I mean, I don't know. I don't really like the idea of Microsoft like just buying up all the third-party companies, because it seems like it seems like they're trying to like monopolize the games industry, which is like a total fucking Microsoft thing to do because they're just like a bunch of grubby fucks that have their hands in goddamn everything.
Literally everything.
Yeah, Bill Gates. I don't even know if does he even head fucking Microsoft anymore.
This
I don't-
cannot be a real photo,
He's
right?
not.
This is-
He's not the CEO. I know that.
Yeah, I think it's like fuck, what's his name? I don't know. Anyways, they made Windows 11 and Windows 11's stinky poo poo ass doo doo, and like I don't know. I'm not really a huge fan of Microsoft in the first place.
Yeah, it really
don't
is
know.
like they're trying to monopolize the game industry.
Well, and it's like also it's just like
They've already got a monopoly pretty much on computers.
it's
Like
almost like
personal computers.
it's almost like where I'm like, God, like fucking Sony spent all these years like building up all these like internal dev groups and all these studios in-house, and then Microsoft like doesn't have fucking jack shit besides like Halo. So they're just like, we'll just buy everybody instead. Which seems like I don't like. I guess I get it. I would like it more if Microsoft was buying like smaller studios maybe and like building them up like Sony
Yeah.
is. Because like Sony
Yeah.
and Blue Point, they never had any relationship, and then they just like they outsourced all their like remakes and remasters to Blue Point, and now they're an in-house studio. And like same with like Housemarque and Santa Monica Studios and all that shit.
Insomniac.
Yeah, Insomniac. I mean, look at Insomniac now. They're making like some of the best games in the history of PlayStation. And I don't know. I get it for Microsoft trying to make money and trying to make Game Pass like a huge thing, but it also at the same time I'm like I just like think back to when well I guess I was like a little kid like eating crayons and shitting my diaper when this happened, but like when Banjo-Kazooie was a Nintendo property and then or a Rare property and then Microsoft bought Rare and then like just like totally like defuncted the entire thing and like they made one Banjo game in like 25 years after that, which is like I don't think they'll do that with Activision, but there's definitely some properties within Activision that might like that's what I'm like worried about for like Crash. Like, are they just gonna like default it and just like bum it out like they did Banjo? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I would be more interested in this if it happened like 2 years ago when they were still doing like Smash DLC, because then I'd be like more realistic about Crash coming to Smash. But
I think it definitely highlights how uncreative Microsoft is.
well, and I just like
they can't put out any good games themselves.
well, like I'm trying to think of like it's almost like my thought was like, man, they like have like all these iconic video game mascots now, but like the only one they actually created was Master Chief. Like they have Banjo and they have Crash
Banjo
now, and those are Nintendo and Sony. And like what other like
They stole two mascots from Sony.
yeah, like what's the other like Microsoft mascot? Like a fucking car for Forza or like what? I don't know. Like I try not to sound like a Sony fanboy, but like it like honestly looking from like somebody who like is I mean I don't have an Xbox, but I like respect the exclusives that come out when you know the very few and far between that are exclusives. But like I mean it just seems bad for the industry, like somebody being able to control like a huge developer like Activision, because Activision is humongous. Like $70 billion is like how much Disney spent on Fox, right?
Yeah.
Like that's insane. Like Jesus, dude. Like in that was really bad because fucking Disney owns so much of that. Disney and Microsoft are just fucks.
So like my take on this is I think this is good for act because I think from what I've seen, Microsoft has a good work culture and they can kind of clean out Activision. I mean, it clearly talks of Bobby Kotick getting the boot from the company. But Andrew, yeah, I'm on board with you. I think this is bad for the games industry outside of Activision. I think this sort of consolidation is kind of fucking scary. Also, no company can do this. That's the worst part about this. That Nintendo and PlayStation or any other company have no response to this level of like an acquisition.
Because they can't do anything because they don't
Yeah.
have a fucking top 5 biggest trillion-dollar corporation backing them. Like it's something where it's like, imagine like I can't even think of like any like relatable thing just because it's so like out of left field, and it just doesn't seem right. And
Mhm.
I mean, I get trying to make Game Pass like the thing, but like if Game Pass is the only service, like fucking shoot me. Like there has to be a competitor because Game Pass might look good now because they need to like build it up and make people want it. But
Mhm.
if they consolidate the industry so much that Game Pass is like, it's like literally like Game Pass, and then you have like PlayStation and Nintendo. Like that's basically what it could end up being. And then at that point, like what incentive does Microsoft have to make it better? Like, I mean, you see, like personally, like working at a corporation that uses all like Microsoft products, like who the fuck else are you gonna use in that, like for like Word, like PowerPoint, like Excel, Outlook, fucking Teams, like bro, like anybody that comes in just gets decimated by Microsoft. And then once they get decimated, Microsoft just stagnates and doesn't fucking innovate with anything. Like, I don't understand. Like Windows 10 is like fine, but it's like Windows 7 just like more annoying as fuck to use. It's just like why, like there's no incentive for them. And that's the same thing that's happened like even outside of the games industry and like that productivity industry is like Apple. Like, I mean, look at Apple. They just make shitty iOS updates every year because they have to. Like Android doesn't really compete with them in America for the most part. Like
Mhm.
worldwide they do, but like Apple's so focused on America that they don't even have like our iPhones, as good as they are. Like I know Thad, you have an Android, so you can probably like get some like alpha male energy going on with the Android. But like there's so many features that Androids have that iOS still doesn't have, and it's like ridiculous because they don't have to. They like you at some point you own so much of the market, you don't have to do anything because there's no more for you to gain. You've maxed out.
That's kind of the crazy part is like I think I mentioned this sometime this week, just to show how pretty much how much market share so PlayStation has had up to this point. Even after this acquisition, they still don't have this. They still have less market share than PlayStation.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude,
even
God
after
of War, the power of God of War and The Last of Us and Spider-Man.
Yeah, which is insane. Like to think about, even after like such like an Activision purchase, they're still like it's still not what the value that Sony has on the market essentially.
And it's
Thad,
like,
would you ever consider, Thad, getting an Xbox instead of a PS5 for your next console?
No.
I still would. I like have no desire, like personally, because I'm in the same boat as Thad. I've never like I'm PlayStation all the way. There's just like I feel like I don't care enough to get an Xbox, but eventually I might.
It does rub me the wrong way that like Nintendo and PlayStation, they kind of like built up their IP by like handcrafting and really kind of putting in the work, putting in the hours, and Microsoft's response, knowing that they are very far behind in the first party game, was to just go on a shopping spree.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of like rubbed me the wrong way about the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous.
Well, no,
I don't know. I've always played PlayStation.
Like, yeah, me too.
Forever.
No, I mean, I've always been a PlayStation fan too, and it is like, I don't know, it's just weird that Microsoft's first reaction to Sony's success, especially after last generation, is literally
the ass whooping.
just to buy everything, which is crazy. Like it's honestly insane, the power of Sony exclusives. Like we all talk about things about Nintendo, like Mario, Zelda, and the power of those. Honestly, Sony's like in that same boat, but higher than that. Like God of War Ragnarok is going to be one of the best games ever created.
When's that coming out?
Sometime this year. Yeah.
We don't have a date yet,
No,
unfortunately.
do not. No Kool-Aid drinking here. We're keeping the hype low and expecting greatness still.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We'll try
There's
to
a
keep the hype
placeholder
low,
date. There's a placeholder date for the last day of Q3, which is like September 30th. So it might come out before that. I think
It'll probably
that's
be
how it
like
works.
It'll
Be like
probably
a-
be 11-11 like every good game.
Now, is that for like straight PS5 or can I get that on my 4 too?
You can
It's
get
coming
on
to
4.
4 as well.
Bet.
Nice. I forgot about that actually. Is Horizon coming to PS4 too?
Yeah. Mhm.
Damn. I guess
then-
Sony's doing that because no one can get it.
Well, they're doing the thing where like
yeah.
A lot of
you-
people can't.
you can buy the PS4 version, then pay $10 to like upgrade, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
PS5 if you ever get one.
Hey, I love getting some use out of my PS4 even after 8 years.
I like my
love being
PS4
able to-
because in my office, that's the one I have in here. So like when I'm like just trying to hop on quick, like on break or something, like that's right there. So I
I
still,
just
like
play-
I still,
the option to
I
use
still
both.
put a pretty good amount into my PS4. And like if Jordan's watching a movie or something, it's nice
Me
to still have
too.
that option.
Me too. Yeah. And then the dual setup, the dual TV setup, like for Fortnite and shit, like Rocket League, even if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
think
love
God of War, if I had to make a guess, will be the last cross-gen one. Because I know they said Spider-Man 2 is going to be like
Hmm.
PS5 exclusive.
Imagine though, if it was on PS4 as well, dude, there would have been no reason to upgrade.
Yeah, for real.
And like back to Microsoft, like I can see from like another point of view, because I know our friend Jared plays Overwatch a lot. Like Blizzard basically gave up on Overwatch. So I know from his perspective, he's like has this like glimmer of hope that like maybe Microsoft will like revive Overwatch and like kind of like bring it back in anticipation for the sequel game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's good for Activision, but bad for everyone else.
It's good if you're really hardcore into like one Activision property. Like if you're like a really big into Call of Duty or really big into Overwatch, like this is good for you because it gives you like hope that like maybe things will get better. I mean, I know as a Pokemon fan, like that's not going to happen for me. So it's nice to see other people living out my dreams. So I don't know.
Yeah,
The thing is like, I appreciate Sony and Nintendo more for like being able to develop these huge properties without buying them. I think like just like looking at it from a quality perspective,
Mhm. Yeah,
because it's like
it's not easy.
yeah, like
do
it's
that.
not easy. Like if they didn't have exclusives, I wouldn't even buy a PlayStation or Switch at that point. Like I would probably just end up getting an Xbox and Game Pass. But like these studios that they've grown organically, it's like nice to see them grow it and make it into like a huge thing just as a fan of those companies.
Yeah, and you know, like kind of the one other thing I want to kind of go into real quick, maybe the last part is okay, so they said that they want to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. So they're giving it the Minecraft treatment. If people don't know, like back in 2012 or something, Microsoft also bought Mojang.
My God, I forgot they have
remember
Minecraft.
that.
Yeah, so Microsoft is actually a Minecraft property, but that's been on PlayStation, and it hasn't never left. And they even released like Minecraft Dungeons, I think, and that was also on PlayStation. So it looks like that maybe for Call of Duty, they're giving it the Minecraft treatment where they're going to keep it multi-platform. So then you're like thinking, okay, their biggest property in Activision is Call of Duty, and they're keeping it multi-platform. So like that's where I kind of came from, where I think their end goal is, I think they're trying to force PlayStation's hand to put Game Pass on PlayStation, some form of it. And that's why I think Xbox, unless antitrust stops them, which is I also want to ask you guys, do you think antitrust is going to allow this to even happen?
They will.
There's a decent chance.
They will.
But
Look
enough
at
members
Disney.
of Congress probably own Microsoft stock that they'll let it slide.
Look at Disney, man. They own over 50%.
Yeah,
of
and
the
nobody gave a
entertainment
shit.
industry.
Nobody gave
Yeah,
a shit.
this is the same thing, except Microsoft owns, like, okay, if you look at it from a data perspective, and where I work in like vendor management, I know that people's data is legit the most valuable thing these days in all of everything. Like people's data is absolutely the most valuable thing to have, and Microsoft has all of it in the workspace and now in the entertainment
This
space.
is what they meant by metaverse move.
Dude, maybe they've got everyone's data now, regardless of if you're a PlayStation user. Even Nintendo has some Activision games. They've got Overwatch at the very least. They've got everyone's data. It's insane. we're all just data points at this point.
Yeah,
to
don't you ever
Microsoft.
wonder why Epic Games makes all their games free to play?
Data.
Oh,
Selling data. Data is so valuable.
microtransactions.
It
It's
is
crazy.
microtransactions too, but you have to agree that that they'll be able to sell your data before you can start like Fortnite or Rocket League or any of that shit.
So one like kind of final thing I want to ask, or I say final thing, I keep saying final thing. I just it's such a rabbit hole. What do you? So I think this is what I think is going to happen. I think if antitrust keeps letting them, I think Microsoft is going to keep going on these fucking insane buying sprees. Maybe Ubisoft is next. Maybe EA is next. You never know. And I think
EA.
And I think legitimately, this is an end. This is a goal in the gaming space. I know they're talking about metaverse and all this stuff, but I think in the gaming space, this is genuinely to force PlayStation and Nintendo's hand so they can put Game Pass on every system, on everything, and make residual income on that. Because they have said they're going all in on Game Pass. Their entire MO for Xbox is Game Pass. Phil Spencer has said he wants Game Pass to be on every platform. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And that's why I think that it will happen. But I guess I want to ask you guys, what, can Sony, and I think it really is Sony, Nintendo's kind of in their own ballpark. So does PlayStation really have an answer to this? And where do you think Xbox is going to continue these buying sprees? Where do you see this kind of playing out? Because I think we're in like uncharted territory where this could, we don't really know where this is going to go from here.
They have to answer,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know where they're gonna go.
I think the only place they can go is they're gonna have to get a little canoodling with Rockstar.
I was gonna
GTA
say, I
for
hope
GTA
Sony
There we
buys
go.
Rockstar.
Yes,
That's like
Sony
that.
bought
That's like their
Rockstar?
fucking like their last.
that's their baby,
resort.
man. Though
Dude, if Sony bought Rockstar and just
It
was
never
like,
happened.
you know what? I'm just gonna make GTA 6 a Sony exclusive.
We're gonna use all of our cash on hand to just buy Rockstar.
I guess
Red Dead 3,
Rockstar is probably worth what, like,
I don't want it to even get consolidated further, but that's like their like last like that's the only thing worth a shit that's like left. I feel like because like Ubisoft, yeah,
Drop the nukes.
let's get more fucking Assassin's Creed games with all the trailing missions. Fuck yeah, there we go. That'll show them.
Assassin's Creed's pretty dope, but I don't know anything else that Ubisoft would have that's worth, like, Raging Rabbids.
Assassin's Creed, that's their big one, honestly. But Rainbow Six, that's huge.
Oh,
dude,
yeah,
I
I
love
forgot
Rainbow
about that.
Six.
Just Dance for all the
Hell
Wii,
yeah.
all the Wii fans out there.
woo.
Dude, Just Dance is such garbage. You buy the game, you get 15 songs, and then you have to pay like monthly to get anything more than that. It's
You have
garbage.
that cardio though, man.
I actually like Just Dance as a game. It's just like they don't give you shit for songs.
Yeah.
If you buy them, it's horrible. But honestly, I think Microsoft is gonna acquire some more companies. I think if anything, they would go for like EA first, because I feel like
Ooh.
Madden is like a big. It just seems like a PC game, and maybe it's the Parker bias. I don't know, because he played hundreds of hours on PC, but I don't know. I feel like they'll acquire another studio. I would like to see PlayStation just do the power move and buy Rockstar, but I bet the monopoly laws, what is it, antitrust laws,
Mm-hmm.
it would probably stop that from happening, but they're not going to stop Microsoft because Microsoft has their grubby little hands in everything.
I think the most Sony can
Everything.
do is make like exclusive deals on an individual basis. Like, I don't think they could ever buy Rockstar, but I could definitely see them making like GTA 6 like an exclusive.
A timed exclusive.
Yeah.
You know what I also think this Activision purchase might have been for? I
Mhm.
think you're right, Ursula, on the forcing Game Pass on PlayStation, because PlayStation's working on their own version. And
They don't want a competitor, probably.
yeah, and now they can't. I mean, Sony won't be able to put Call of Duty on their new thing, or they won't be able to put any of the Activision games. I guess Call of Duty is the big one, but I don't know. Microsoft owns everything else. I don't know what Sony would put on that. other than like Rockstar games and their own games.
I can't get over the fact that even after this acquisition, that they still don't have the same market share. It's close now. It's way close. It's like it's almost neck and neck, but it's great. That's crazy to me. That's
And they're
low
both
stat.
losing to China.
Yeah, they're losing to Tencent.
That's wild. But
China.
but it's wild that the power of the Sony exclusives. Everyone refers to Spider-Man and all the
Dude,
Microsoft.
Spider-Man is huge. Spider-Man outsold Vanguard. Been outselling Vanguard.
That is
like-
actually insane.
Yeah.
I didn't actually realize how big Spider-Man was, because I feel like the best Sony exclusives sell like 20 to 30 million.
Mhm.
But like Call of Duty could sell more than that.
I'm pretty sure Spider-Man 2018 sold like 20 million in the first like year it was out. Like
Shit.
Spider-Man is it's funny to say that Spider-Man is PlayStation's biggest IP, which is kind of funny because
Spider-Man 2, dude,
Yeah.
if not enough people have PS5s, they might, for sales purposes, try and downplay it so that at least PS4 Pro users can play it.
I'm
I
just
don't know.
curious what a next gen Spider-Man can entail, because I mean like Spider-Man, the two Spider-Man games that have come out feel so like perfect for a Spider-Man game, but I don't know, maybe just
I don't
make
know.
the movement speed like 3 times as fast.
It'll be smoother. Maybe the city will be bigger. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. This is actually the final question I want to ask you about this. Or two questions wrapped up. Do you think? Sorry. There's just so much to
You're
talk
good.
about this.
I
No,
know,
this
I
is
get it.
good.
What do you think is going to happen with Bobby Kotick, worst CEO of all time? And then also just a thought experiment. What property or what IP would need to get bought by Microsoft for you to be like, fuck, I think I'm gonna have to get a Series X? John, how would you start us off?
Well, I hope that Activision CEO, piece of shit, Bobby Kotick with his cameras in the women's bathrooms. I really hope that
Jesus.
he's the worst person ever. Like, he actually is like as bad as Stalin. Nah, but I mean,
No, he's pretty bad.
he's
boy, wow.
he's probably going to be in the same circle of hell as Stalin and them. But no,
Bobby Kotick.
he needs to be dropped for Microsoft's sake.
Microsoft probably brought down the asking price. It was probably like 100 billion. It's like
Probably. And then they were like, well, you got Bobby and you guys are struggling right now. Like, Microsoft honestly probably picked the best time to buy. Especially with Vanguard not doing as well. Like
$700
$700
for Series X.
is it? Oh, for like eBay,
resale.
probably,
Yeah, resale.
But retail, it's the same as PS5, 500. But
Mhm.
Well, that's
Yeah, I
that's
mean-
at Walmart, dude. Right here, 701 at Walmart.
oh well, you can they got that resale market on Walmart too.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
I didn't know that Series X. That's what the new Xbox was called.
You were
but
like,
that's how
shit,
much-
it's 700.
right? Because that's how much I care about Xbox.
Well,
I
there's
didn't know
another
they're-
there's another Xbox called the Series S that's only 300.
Oh,
But it's
That's actually pretty widely available.
sorry. I didn't
No
mean
one
to
buys
cut
it.
you on, but
Yeah,
Nobody
nobody
wants it.
But yeah, Bobby's got to go. He's got to go ASAP. But honestly, the only studio that Microsoft could buy that would make me be like, shit, gotta get a Series X would be Rockstar. Because
yeah, I'm with you.
I really don't like Sony's got all the big, they've got all the big hitters that I enjoy.
Or
They've got-
EA, dude. Honestly, if they did get EA, I'd have to because I play this shit out of Madden.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Madden fans out there. I like Madden. I haven't
Yeah.
bought a game since like,
And not even just Madden, like all the sports games.
true.
Microsoft buys Nintendo.
Holy shit. They bought Nintendo and like Nintendo was no longer Nintendo and like Mario was on the fucking Xbox. And not the PlayStation.
That would be the craziest shit of all
That
time.
would be the craziest shit. But I
Holy
mean,
shit.
what is Nintendo worth? Like 300 billion? They've
No,
got to be worth
It's like
Nintendo's worth
55.
70. Yeah.
the same as Oh
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
God.
That's why I was memeing about it.
Oh God. Oh, if that happened, I would have to buy a series.
That would
Nintendo?
never happen. That would actually
That would actually
antitrust.
monopolize the
That would
game.
actually kick in antitrust stuff because Nintendo has software and hardware. Activision
Yeah.
doesn't do hardware.
That's true. If they did, oh God, if that somehow went through, if that somehow happened within this generation of gaming, it'd all be over. Everything. It would
Did you
just
know
be
that
over.
was Microsoft's original plan before creating the Xbox was to just buy Nintendo,
Really?
and Nintendo like laughed them out of the room.
Damn. Look who's laughing now.
You are.
Not
kidding.
Nintendo, because nobody gives a shit about third party on a Nintendo console, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
What
I
about you,
hope-
Andrew?
I hope that never
Oh,
happens.
yeah.
Well, Bobby Kodak's already going to be out when they complete the transaction, so that's already laid out. Hopefully, he goes to jail.
Yeah, for real. Fuck that.
hopefully
What they would
Fuck
have to-
Bobby Kotick.
What they would
Hopefully he
have to
buys somehow.
buy, I don't even know. Like, I mean, maybe when GTA 6 comes out, maybe I'll care about Rockstar, but I'm so detached from like Rockstar at this point. Like, I don't even think I'd give a shit if they bought Rockstar. Like, I don't even know what they'd have to buy.
Insomniac.
They'd either have to buy
Nintendo.
Insomniac or Santa Monica, probably. Or
Just-
Naughty Dog. One of those three, but like
Some pop. Yeah, you'd have to buy Sony to buy those studios.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I really am not huge on everything that's going on, so I it's whatever. Gotta deal with it when you have a company that's $1 trillion company just being a bully.
Yeah, just for reference, Microsoft has market cap is in the trillions. Nintendo's is like Andrew said, like 55 billion, and Sony's is like 150 billion. So Xbox could honestly buy both, but yeah, you're right. Antitrust would fucking red fucking flags would start shooting out of
What they'll do is probably just keep buying up software only companies, because as long as they don't touch the hardware aspects, then I don't think any antitrust will kick in. That's why I don't think they'll buy any of the other two, because then they would own such a huge portion of software and hardware.
You're right.
I think in all honesty, Ubisoft is next. Even though I don't care about Ubisoft.
Yeah, I don't. But
yeah, Xbox
I
by
think
a
like
studio. I give
that's
a fuck
also
about challenge.
That's that's also I think they're.
I was gonna say, do you like Assassin's Creed enough for you to want to get an Xbox if they bought Ubisoft?
Fuck no.
No.
Yeah,
Dude,
I don't think anyone.
Dude, there's so much shit you gotta do in Assassin's Creed. It's just stupid. I'm like, I got lost playing Valhalla, like, because I just had so much shit going on. I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm done.
Those games are so long now; it's obnoxious.
Yeah.
I was ready for Valhalla to end 50 hours before it did.
I'll go play PGA Tour 21 before I play another. Dude, and honestly, I downloaded that game off the PS Store, John.
Yeah.
The PGA 21. That game's badass.
Really?
Yes, dude.
I would rather play GTA 5 golf, honestly.
Hell out loose.
Hell let loose.
Ugh, hell let loose. Yeah,
Um,
fucking Xbox is gonna buy hell let loose next.
the
But,
studio made it.
yeah, just
Xbox
honestly,
buy Epic Games.
that I'm very curious what Epic's like what their value is, because it's probably a lot. It's probably the same as Activision, just because of how big Fortnite is.
Let me grab it really quick. Epic.
And I do think them saying the metaverse thing is also them positioning themselves to compete with like Apple and Google and like Facebook, as opposed to like Sony. Shift the eyes towards that a little bit more. So it's just like a tech company buying another tech company, as opposed to a gaming company buying another gaming company. Because it looks a lot better if it's a tech company buying another tech company.
Oh, Epic Games is a Tencent property.
Oh my God.
Oh man, I was gonna say, because Epic Games is about 20 billion, it looks like. Or
Yeah,
20.
so
That's how Tencent is the market leader.
they only
two-thirds of
own
their-
they only own 40% of Epic Games though. So it's not like a majority.
Oh, that's still a fucking lot.
Still.
Oh yeah, it's 28 billion, it looks like. Dang.
That's
a lot.
insane. Yeah,
Well-
Tencent something.
Yeah, Jesus. yeah, Tencent has also been going on a purchasing spree, but they're a little bit more detached because they're based out of China. Their big thing is Genshin Impact, I think, which I heard is also huge. It's pretty much Breath of the Wild.
All those free to play games.
Yeah, gotcha games. But that is all we have for the current events. Spent a lot of time talking on this one, but it was literally like this. Like this could have been a main topic. We could have kept talking about it. If there's any updates on it, we'll obviously keep you guys posted. Absolutely fucking shaggy levels of news. But that is all for the main topic, or not for the main topic, for the current events. But let's go ahead and get into the main topic, and that is Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Let's get.
Podcasts and web shows are on the rise, and for good reason. They're great sources of entertainment and can be great listens in multitudes of situations like long drives or intense study sessions. Maybe, just maybe, you have an idea for a show or podcast that you want to put out into the world. Well, lucky for you, it's never been easier to jump into podcasting thanks to the wonderful people at Anchor.fm. Anchor takes care of most of the back-end work of podcasts. No more are the days of coordinating releases on multiple platforms, paying for a podcast hosting subscription to hold your RSS feed, or other hassles. Anchor sets up your podcast on all the major podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple automatically. They even provide sleek and easy-to-use editing tools that can be accessed from your phone or computer to get your podcast to the world through the path of least resistance. Anchor also matches you up with sponsors so that you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and even gives you in-depth stats for your shows like total plays, regions of viewership, as well as what kind of devices your show is being listened on. Here's the best part about all of this. It's free. So what are you waiting for? Anchor has everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. If you're ready to add your voice and vision to the mix, it's never been easier. And I highly recommend you go the way of Anchor.fm, just like the ControllerCast did. So here you go. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started. That's Anchor.fm.
All right. And like Ursula said, our main topic for this week will be the ever loved by many, the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. We'll try and focus on the first one. It's hard to talk about Lord of the Rings without maybe mentioning things here and there from the other movies, but we'll try and focus on the first one in terms of like favorite moments and plot points and stuff specifically. But let's go ahead and start off with like what your guys' first impressions were of the movie. I know maybe Andrew is maybe more of a newcomer to Lord of the Rings, so he may not have seen all of them yet even.
This is the first one I've ever seen. I've never seen anything or played anything related to Lord of the Rings.
God damn.
Welcome,
I'm surprised you were. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm surprised you were able to avoid it for 23 years, I guess. You're 23.
Isn't it 20 years? Is it 20 years?
Well, I was referring to Andrew's age.
Oh, okay.
But as
Yeah,
of,
the first 4 years are really easy to avoid it. Didn't exist.
But the Lord of the Rings, actually, the Fellowship of the Ring specifically, just turned 20 years old in December. So we wanted to talk about it as kind of like a 20-year retrospective.
And we were going to talk about it until No Way Home. We realized No Way Home.
Yeah, we were going to talk about it way earlier. But I'll start off with like my first impressions. I actually do remember when I first saw this with my dad. We watched all three, I think, in a weekend. We didn't watch the extendeds for my first time, but ever since then, I've seen all the extended versions, and that's like the only way I watch it. To be honest, maybe like Thad, maybe you'll be able to pick out certain things that like are different about the extended, but in my opinion, they're like 30 to 40 minutes longer, and I can't tell the damn difference.
Me neither.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're just watching. Like, I'll be watching sorry to cut you off, but the extended,
you're good.
I'm like, I don't remember this. Like some things I don't remember because
exactly.
Like I watched the unextended ones the first time. I recently just watched the extended, so I was like, that's new to me.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like they're so well done and they're so long. like in general, they're so long anyway that it's hard to like pick out certain things that are different. I feel like there's certain moments where I can tell that it's like maybe a little bit longer, like maybe the scenes with the elves are a little bit longer. But I'm not even sure, honestly. They're just so well made. But I remember first watching this and thinking like the world itself was just incredible.
Yeah.
The creatures in it, all the like the orcs freaked me out because I saw these for the first time when I was like 8, probably. I had nightmares of the orcs. They freaked me out so much. And it's funny because the orcs in this look way better than the orcs in The Hobbit.
Yes.
Through the CGI was more expensive, first off, more expensive to do even than practical effects, but the practical effects look so much better. And that's why these movies actually hold up even 20 years later. But I love The Lord of the Rings. I love The Fellowship of the Ring, especially. Every time I watch all 3, I feel like I have a different favorite. I think most recently, my most recent watch through, this one was my favorite. Sometimes it's Return of the King. It's never really the Two Towers. It's the Fellowship or Return of the King because the most stuff happens, I feel like. But I love the Fellowship of the Ring. It's amazing. I love a lot of the scenes from it. We'll get into it more specifically. But Andrew, I know you're more of a newcomer to Lord of the Rings. Do you want to talk about like your initial general thoughts on
Virginity lost.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings virginity gone.
I mean, I thought it was interesting. I think I know we're specifically talking about Fellowship of the Ring on this episode. I mean, I can see how this movie kind of is like a stepping stone for the sequel, just based on like how the movie goes. I mean, I thought it was interesting. I think like these fantasy worlds like this, I mean, I guess I can think of like Star Wars mainly, but like or like Harry Potter even, because I've watched all those. Like I think fantasy worlds are very interesting. I think this one is like the most unique because it's not really like, it's kind of like I mean like the ring, like the whole concept of there being like this evil ring and all these rings of power is like kind of like magic, but it's like not as much magic as like would be in Star Wars or Harry Potter, I feel like. Um but it's like very interesting, and I think the thing that really like got me on here is like the effects of like early 2000s movies are like, for whatever reason, I think they're like a lot cooler and more involved than like now the CGI. Like whenever they would show like Mordor on the screen, like it just looks so fucking cool. And when they like go into that like huge like I don't remember what the hall was of, but it's like that hall where
Are you talking about in the mountain?
yeah, when Gandalf like raises his light and it just like shines this huge gigantic hall, like those
Yeah,
kind of features.
the dwarf hall.
Yeah, the dwarf hall. Those kind of feature or effects, like I like it a lot more than like today's. So like even just like the visuals and like the environments that are set up are so like intricately made that it really like immerses you while you're watching it. You're like, damn, like these are cool ass environments. And I as somebody new, like not knowing anything about it, it's kind of like interesting to like kind of see like because these are like, for me, these are like all new characters. Like I know you guys have seen like the Hobbit movies and all of these movies. And I know you guys have mentioned you played like one of the video games or something, but like
Couple of them.
I've never done any of that, and I've always like I started watching it in high school, but I only got through like half of it, and then I like forgot I was watching it. And I think that the the Lord of the Rings DVD was like actually in my like DVD, my Blu-ray player at home for like 5 months, and I like forgot about it. So like
Maybe it was
I'd seen the first hour of the movie before, but like nothing but beyond that. I don't really know why I didn't watch it back then. Maybe I didn't have this patience. But I mean, I liked everything from the first watch. Like the characters are really cool. The development of all of them is really nice. The environments are cool. The score is really fucking good. just everything about it was really cool, and I'm interested to watch the next two.
Good deal. Well, what do you think, Thad? What were your do you remember watching it for the very first time? And then just give us your general thoughts on the Fellowship.
Well, shit, 20 years ago, dude. I'd have been 19.
No way, you were
No,
not
no,
that old.
9.
I was gonna say, I was like,
I was like-
damn.
Like, holy shit.
It's a long
39.
morning. It was an early morning. But
Yeah.
9, dude. So I don't really remember watching it much, but I remember watching it in like middle school with my buddies and stuff, and we're just like, wow.
For
Wow.
real.
And then the fact that they built Hobbit Town. Like
They
they
built,
brought
like-
in, yeah, they brought in like 54 metric tons of dirt.
Really?
Yeah,
They
to build
built that-
Hobbit.
Well, they would have had to, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and then like Bilbo's house, they built Bilbo's house inside like the hill and everything. It was just
The Shire.
just how they like you guys said, did everything back then. It was crazy.
The practical effects, yeah.
Yeah. And how much it cost.
These were some of the most expensive movies at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a big, I remember like reading that it was a really big investment because, I mean,
They made them all die at the same time, too.
and
Yeah, that's the other
exactly.
thing. Peter Jackson walks in and he's like, I want to make 3 movies now.
Which is crazy. Like, I feel like this day and age in Hollywood, you almost can't do that because you have to
Mhm.
make sure that it's going to be a huge success, especially something as expensive as we're.
The most recent one example is probably Infinity War and Endgame. I'm pretty sure they filmed those back to back.
Yeah.
Man.
It's
Yeah,
something
but-
that's missing in modern cinema is the dedicate, like the practical stuff instead of just like, because I mean, like shit, probably like half the movies, like half of every Marvel movie is like not even on any location. It's just on a green screen background. And same with like the Star Wars sequel trilogy. You know,
Yeah.
it was nice
Yeah.
when they used to actually give a shit and make the practical
Yeah,
effects
just-
be like shooting on location and stuff.
Exactly. Like I remember watching Game of Thrones even for the first time, and I'm like, when is this gonna be as epic as a 20-year-old movie? Like, when is this gonna be as good as Lord of the Rings? And it took them a while, but they got there. But I think they used a lot of CGI even for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the practical effects in this movie are insane. They didn't really have CGI, but the CGI even that they did have looked so good. Like I watched this movie today and wonder how the hell it looks as good as it does. Like they like the fire dude, the demon at the end. That,
Balrog.
Balrog.
yeah, that
Balrog.
that Gandalf or
Gandorf.
Ganondorf.
That Gandalf fights, like it's insane how good that looks.
Fire
You
Blight
fools.
Ganon.
Ganondorf. Yeah, but Ursel, what were your like general thoughts? I know that you said you hadn't seen this in like almost a decade before your most recent.
Yeah. So I've watched this a handful of times, like throughout my throughout the knots, the 2000s. But I think the last time I actually did watch it was even longer than I thought. I think it was 10 years ago. I think I watched the entire trilogy kind of leading into when the first Hobbit came out. And the first Hobbit came out in 2012. And as I don't know what year you're listening to this, but it's 2022. So it's been actually probably 10 years. When I watched it the first time, I was honestly blown away. Kind of like I didn't watch them all back to back. Actually, I watched them I watched one a week. I did want to have a little space in between because back then I was like, hey, I know these movies came out a year apart. I think it'd be nice to have a little bit of space in between watching them. But I love them. When I watched them as a kid, I didn't really remember them that well. But then when I kind of watched them all back to back on my own accord, I remember them and I loved them. I think watching this even now, 10 years later, it stands up just as well, if not better than it did when it first came out, 10 years after it came out and now, because when I watched it 10 years ago, it was really kind of the main fantasy world that existed in the movie space, besides probably Harry Potter. But I never really got into Harry Potter that much, if I'm being completely honest. But it really blew me away at how well they made this world feel real. You know, it felt like a place that could really actually exist. And 10 years later, that shines through and through, because there's been imitators and copycats essentially, with Game of Thrones, The Witcher. There's been so many new ones. I mean, it's copycatting itself. There's got to be a fucking Lord of the Rings TV show.
Yeah.
There's this show Amazon is doing, another Amazon show called like Rings of Time or Rings of something. I don't know, or I don't even know what the fuck it's called. But a lot of fantasy shows have popped up, and a lot of fantasy worlds have existed. And honestly, none really draw me in and make me fall in love with it, I think, as much as Lord of the Rings. There's something about it that's just so Peter Jackson did so much with as little time as he had to work with.
Genius.
I think like the amount of characters and the amount of story and world building that goes on, not just in this movie in 3 hours, but also throughout the span of a 12-hour epic story, is honestly something to behold. And this film was nominated for 13 Oscars. It won 4. And then obviously Return of the King went on to win 11 Oscars, which
Really?
The time that the Academy actually got it right.
Yeah.
I don't know what other movies it was up against, but.
And just for reference, how well made this trilogy is made, like Return of the King is the record holder for the most Oscar wins of any movie ever.
Wow.
It clean sweep the Oscars. And the reason I'm saying that about Return of the King, I know we're talking about Fellowship of the Ring, is people pretty much view Return of the King sweeping the Oscars as not just a win for Return of the King, but a win for the entire trilogy, a celebration of the entire trilogy, because really, I can't imagine how they could have done this better. I think so many things from this movie are so iconic. There's so many memes. There's so many iconic characters, the iconography that's so iconic.
One cannot simply.
One cannot simply. They're taking the Hobbits to Isengard.
Taking the Hobbits to Isengard.
That's Two Towers, though, I think. But Mount Doom is iconic. I get like goosebumps anytime there's anything with the Eye of Sauron is so fucking iconic. The theme when each of the movies starts, like the like that is one of my like top 5 probably like favorite soundtracks. A lot of this movie's soundtrack could be in the top 10, honestly. I mean, I'm praising this movie a lot, but I think it's well deserved. I think all put together, maybe not this movie individually, but all put together, this the whole trilogy is in my like top 10. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'm in the same boat. And to talk on the music for a second, dude, it is, for me, bar none, the best soundtrack of any movie. Anytime I watch these, the music is stuck in my head for like months on end, because there's so many iconic songs. Like I mean, the battle songs, the Shire theme,
the Hobbit theme,
it's just, dude, it's all so good. Like, actually elite score. And
I'm also
excited for you to see the rest, because there's more. Like, it's not, they reuse a lot of the music throughout the trilogy, but like there's different themes for each movie. Like Return of the King has the
Helm's Deep theme.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's all so good.
It always bothered me that I felt like Lord of the Rings never had like a stan culture like Harry Potter did in the 2000s.
I know.
Which is bullshit, because it deserves it more than Harry fucking Potter. Like Harry Potter, as well made as the movies are, like I know, John, I think Casey loves Harry Potter, if I remember correctly,
but she likes Lord of the Rings more, I think, now.
Why doesn't Lord of the Rings needs a stan culture? Maybe I would have watched it sooner than 20 years after it came out.
I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that there's only 3 of them, but they're so well made. Like it's the best. It's probably the
Fantasy.
best fantasy world building. Like, dude, I mean, when I think of fantasy worlds, I immediately think of Lord of the Rings. And Middle Earth just like it makes the most sense. I feel like the creatures in it. Like even the Hobbit doesn't even compare to the Lord of the Rings in my opinion.
Oh no, Hobbit is fucking. Oh my god, no, Hobbit was such a disappointment. We can talk about that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a big disappointment in comparison, in my opinion. But I actually wanted to ask you guys really quick before we really dive into the movie. What do you think about the Amazon series that's coming out? Do you have any hopes for it? Like, are you guys gonna check it out?
I'm gonna check it out. I'm excited.
I'll check it out once I watch all 3 of the movies.
I don't really know what it's gonna be about. I'm assuming it's gonna be about how they started, right?
So
It sounded to me like it
how the
slides-
first 9 rings came out.
It sounds to me like it's gonna go into how like each of the 9 rings.
yeah, that's what I think it is too.
So like maybe like an episode per ring or I don't know. That's what it sounded like from the news article I read anyway.
Well, I think they're trying to make it like a full blown like series because they spent like 500 million just on the first season.
Holy
Oh,
Um,
that is ridiculous.
which is the most expensive budget for a season of a TV show by
a
very long shot.
I do want to
How
say
is it
one
gonna
thing.
make that much money back on a streaming service?
It's Amazon. That's the thing. We're talking the big follow throughs, big corporations just throwing fucking money at people, like throwing money and saying we don't give a fuck. Like
I do want to say one thing. I think like I assume we're gonna do the rest of the trilogy at some point on the podcast, but I feel like I need to like just buy the movies because HBO Max is such a dog shit experience.
God.
Oh my god, it was so awful to watch it on there.
How did you?
it doesn't even look like it's at 720p, bro.
It looks so bad, dude. I have a 4K TV. That shit looked like a PS3 was running that. Like, oh my god, bro, it looks so bad, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the HBO Max app or something.
Yeah, it's definitely the app.
I don't know. I might just have to like buy the trilogy because I think it's like $15 on Apple TV. So.
And there's no way to manually like control it. Like I was looking it up, and it's like HBO Max like just automatically chooses your.
Oh,
your
and the thing that ruined it for me was the audio mix. Like HBO's audio is so dog shit. Like every time there was any music, it was so loud, and then I'd have to turn it down, and then the dialogue would be super quiet, and then the music would come on and I can't hear it, and I'm like, Jesus, dude, like. I might just have to buy it on iTunes or something because it's only like $20 for the whole trilogy, I think.
That's what I did. I bought the extended trilogy, and I think it was like $20 on iTunes, and it looks really good.
Yeah,
it's like how is HBO? How am I watching Lord of the Rings when it supposedly can go up to 4K on HBO Max? It barely looks like
going there.
Yeah, it barely looks like it's 720p, and then I go on Netflix and Cobra Kai looks like it's in fucking 8K.
Dude,
I
have the highest internet that Cox offers, and HBO Max does not put anything out in 4K.
Okay.
Yeah, and
It
fuck
doesn't.
HBO Max for having an exclusivity on fucking Euphoria because that show could look so much better if it wasn't on fucking HBO Max.
It would look incredible on Netflix, but
Yeah,
or Amazon even. Like I hope
And
that the
literally
Lord of the
anything.
Rings series on Amazon looks good because
I
these
hope so,
streaming
too.
services really. I don't know. Some of them shit the bed. Netflix looks the best, in my opinion.
Not to sound like a boomer, but at the end of the day, physical media is the best. Like
I agree.
I watched Tenet on 4K Blu-ray, bro. That shit looks
That
looks better than real life.
I have this trilogy, but I don't have it on Blu-ray. I have it. My dad has it on just
SD.
regular DVD.
Standard
On
definition.
DVD. Dang.
Well, it'll probably still look better than HBO Max.
Well, I didn't know that the freaking Lord of the Rings Amazon series is like the most expensive show ever produced. Even more than Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, just off of the first season, that's even the crazier part. They I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm actually not that excited for the TV show, as much as I love Lord of the Rings because first of all, I think the name is fucking awful. Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. That just sounds like you're saying Lord of the Rings like twice.
Yeah, it does.
And then
they
also
could have just called it the Rings of Power. And
yeah, it's like people like it's like they need to like hammer into your head that this is Lord of the Rings. But I'm not excited about it because this movie trilogy is set in quote unquote the third age, and the show is set in the second age, and it's basically a prequel to the movies, right?
Yeah.
Which essentially prequel to these was like a prequel to the Hobbit. And I don't know, it's kind of like, this is my one problem with prequels in general, is like it could be good, I'm sure, but a lot of the stakes in it are kind of lessened when you know where everything is going to end up. If that makes sense,
True.
And there's some exceptions to that. Like I think like Revenge of the Sith is a great movie. I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is an amazing prequel. But like most of the time, I need to experience it to enjoy it. Usually, the hype does not carry me through with prequels. Like,
Yeah,
like I was saying, yeah, because you kind of know where everything is going to end up.
well,
we
we're
know what's
probably
going to
gonna
happen.
see. We're probably gonna see Sauron in the flesh. Not exactly the flesh, but the armor. I mean, that'll
Yeah.
be pretty cool to see that again, because that dude's like 9 feet tall with his crazy armor too. I'm excited for it now.
It's coming out this year, right?
Considering what?
I think it's coming out this year.
I think it is coming out this year.
Yeah, later this year, I believe.
And considering
Check
how much
it out.
money they put into it, like that makes me even more excited, because 500 mil, I mean, yes, inflation and stuff, but that's like that's almost as much as they put into the first 3, or at least the first 2, because I think
Yeah.
each movie costs about 220 million to make, unless it
Yeah.
was a trilogy that cost.
The only thing is, I hope they don't like ham fist like Lord of the Rings references down the show's throat. That was the one thing I hated about The Hobbit, was that like they just added random shit from the Lord of the Rings into the Hobbit, like just to be like, hey, you remember this guy? This guy was in Lord of the Rings. You remember him? He wasn't in the Hobbit, but we're gonna put him into the Hobbit just because it's Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So I hope they
John,
avoid that.
To answer your question, it's supposed to come out September 2nd.
Oh, okay. Is it gonna come out like? Is it gonna drop the
The
entire
first 8
season?
episodes season is scheduled to premiere on Prime Video on September 2nd.
Okay, so they'll probably release it week by week, potentially.
Everyone
Yay,
is trying-
not HBO Max.
But going
Yay.
back, dude, Amazon bought the rights to the Lord of the Rings for 250 million in 2017.
What?
Yeah.
It was
Wow,
only
that-
worth 250.
That's
Yeah.
crazy to me. That is actually insane that it only.
And
Yeah.
then it's going to
I
make a
guess it kind of-
5-season production commitment worth at least 1 billion.
Wow.
I feel like it has to be worth more because the movies gross to like 6 billion total, like
Yeah.
with all the whole series.
It's
That's-
probably.
I
just
feel like-
because
Well, I feel like
the
'cause there-
stands aren't there. The stands.
Well,
Where
yeah,
are the
there's-
Lord of the Rings stands?
there's no like huge game series, and there's no like merchandise craze, and like look at Star Wars. Like, what did Disney buy Star Wars for? Like $4 billion or something.
4 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like they have like a huge like just merchandise, like the culture. Like Lord of the Rings just is missing that, which obviously is probably the reason.
Can we
that
talk-
value is so low.
Microsoft has terrible negotiators. Star Wars is
Yeah.
4 billion. Call of Duty is 70.
Exactly. What the hell? Talking about a lot.
Don't have
of
to negotiate when you got money to buy literally anybody except like Apple.
Yeah.
Or
True.
Facebook.
But I am excited for the show. I think it'll be cool, especially like, man, a 5-season commitment. I don't know. I hope I don't.
What if it just sucks ass and no one wants to watch it, and then you just have a shitty show going on for 5 seasons?
That would be crazy with the amount of money.
But everyone's trying to replicate. It's funny because Game of Thrones are trying to I feel like be like the TV's Lord of the Rings, and now every fucking streaming service is trying to have their own Game of Thrones. Obviously, HBO already had theirs because it's Game of Thrones. Netflix is trying to do fucking Witcher, which sucks. And then now Amazon's trying to do Lord of the Rings.
Disney Plus is just throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean Disney's got the Marvel shows. Those are.
Have you
good.
seen
Yeah.
their commercial where they're like all the new shows coming out in 2022 and it's like fucking 30 seconds of just logo. I'm like, God damn, bro. Like, who is watching all of this? Like, half of this is going to be garbage. We don't need a TV show about fucking Baymax from Big Hero 6, bro. I promise you.
Yeah. What the heck?
I also don't think. Yeah, Disney Plus is slowly going down the shitter already, in my opinion. I'm sorry.
It's
There's
$5
too
a
many
month,
stupid
and I
show-
don't even subscribe to it anymore because
There's
it's like
too
not
many
worth
fucking
it.
stupid shows.
The
I don't
Boba
want.
Fett show is actually pretty good. I actually enjoy it. If you like the original trilogy of Star Wars, you're gonna like Boba Fett.
I heard it.
But-
I actually heard it's not good.
That's what I've heard too. You're the only person I've
Really?
heard that said it's actually good.
I've
I
heard
think
like
it's pretty
that
good.
I've heard that like if you want a Boba Fett show, that's pretty much what the Mandalorian already is, and like he's like way too nice in the show. Like, isn't Boba Fett supposed to be like ruthless, and he's like hanging out with kids and singing songs and shit?
No, well, not exactly. You guys should watch it.
I'm
give it a
good. I don't
chance.
subscribe. I don't want to either.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
come on, Andrew's like probably the biggest Star Wars guy here. Even he doesn't care.
I hate it.
Fucking yeah.
I want Lego Star Wars, the new game, and that's about it. That's about the length of how far my Star Wars fandom can go anymore.
damn.
Anyways, back to
Well-
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, the true
Yeah,
hero of
yeah,
Middle
yeah,
Earth,
yeah.
Boba Fett.
But if we're going back to Lord of the Rings though for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, we'll see how long
Just-
that lasts.
But yeah, no, but no, I'm excited for the show. It sounds like we're all probably at least going to check it out. But also, if we talk about The Hobbit for a second, what do you guys think that this does better than the Hobbit trilogy? Especially Fellowship itself. I think Fellowship of the Ring is better than the entire Hobbit trilogy as a whole.
What does it do
Honestly-
better? It made me actually want to watch it.
Yeah, I haven't even seen The Hobbit yet.
I haven't
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
It
Yeah, it's
We need to do that after we were gonna do that after we watch these extended.
this is the best way to sum up the Hobbit trilogy. Hobbit 1 is literally literally Fellowship of the Ring, but worse.
Yeah.
And then fucking Desolation of Smog is the only good one because it's actually unique. And then Battle of the Five Armies sucks ass and is literally just one battle sequence. Me and John, I remember watching Battle of the Five Armies with John in theaters. We were laughing in the theater because
Dude, it
there's
was
so much
forgettable,
there's
too.
so much stupid shit going on in the film.
That's so forgettable.
What do I think it does better? I think one, the practical effects is much better than CG. It doesn't try to like add things to the story that are unnecessary. Like The Hobbit was trying to make like all these references to Lord of the Rings, like how in The Hobbit the necromancer is actually fucking Sauron and all the stupid shit. And then also I think the cast of characters. I think that's a one big thing that is the shining one of the shining hallmarks of this film is like all the characters are iconic, like every single one. As much as of a kind of a little baby Frodo is. I love every one of these characters, which I can't say the same about the
Yeah,
Hobbit.
Samwise, bro.
Yes. Oh, okay. This is one thing I have to say though.
Samwise.
The funniest scene in this whole fucking film is at the very end when literally Samwise has a borderline has a death scene because this dude can't swim.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's like
Sam. Oh, Sam.
Damn, you can't swim. And he's just like,
I wonder if Sam and Frodo have like a little man love relationship.
That's what I
Dude,
was kind of
I've
getting those
always
vibes.
wondered
I'll carry your load, Frodo. I'll take your load, Frodo. It's too heavy.
It was so funny watching that scene because it's like kind of played off for laughs for a second. It's like, oh, you can't swim, Sam.
then
And
he
then-
actually like almost dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it has
Sam!
this it had this
Fuck.
super dramatic scene where he's like reaching out. He's like reaching up and it's like actually looks like he's about to die. I'm like,
Yeah,
"Are you
in the
fucking
water."
kidding me?" Yeah. I was like, oh my God, you've had to kill Sam off because
Oh
he can't
my
swim.
God.
At the very end of the movie too, like literally, like there's like 30 seconds left in the movie, and they're like, yeah,
Literally, that's like the last like 2 minutes of the film, and he like almost dies by drowning. Like that was
Oh,
hands
God.
down the funniest scene of the whole film. I was like dying. That was the other thing. I was watching this film with my friend that's crashing here, and he's a big fantasy guy. And he has a Harry Potter tattoo actually.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so he loves Harry Potter, but he also loves Lord of the Rings. So he was like, he's like super into it. He's like big on the lore, and we were both like just dying laughing during that scene though. But one thing I wanted to point out, he told me I think that Gandalf's character and Frodo were never actually on set together. And this almost like threw me out of the movie when he pointed this out. But there's never a shot where you see Gandalf and like any of the hobbits with like you never see them in the same shot together, like their faces.
Actually, there is in Fellowship of the Ring. I'm 99% sure there is, unless it's just the extended version. It shows Frodo and Gandalf on the same horse, or like the horse and carriage going.
But can you see both of their faces up close at the same time?
Maybe not up close, but I swear they're in the same shot. Maybe I'm crazy.
Because once you point that out, I just kept noticing that whenever it showed Gandalf's face, it would show like the back of the head of the Hobbit because it's like a double standing in for them. Or like if it's like Frodo, like if it's all the Hobbits standing next to each other, Gandalf's like body is above the shot so you can't see his head. Or like there's so many different ways that they're like editing it together. But that was honestly super funny to see.
Well, and it's crazy too. Like I don't know how they did the whole Hobbit thing in general, because these guys are not 4 foot tall.
I'm actually looking that up right now.
Well,
they would build a scale taller than the original one, so they would have a different size scale of set that Gandalf would walk through compared to what the hobbits would walk through.
What the?
But they would put it. But they would put them together. Like this one says, when Frodo and Gandalf are walking outside down the Shire together.
Yeah.
They're not walking together. Each of them are walking on a different set, but they filmed it at the same time and they collabed it together.
How the fuck, dude? This is early 2000s.
Yeah,
filmed in probably the late 90s.
Like any shot that like shows like the hobbits in their entire body and like shows them as like the midgets that they are, you're never gonna see them with like another actor, because any scene that had the hobbits,
you're probably right.
Because any scene that actually had the hobbits with another actor, it was actually just midgets that they had. Or okay, maybe midget is midget like
little
people. Okay, sorry. Little people. Buy them. Like
that's insane.
Like the who's the dwarf? The dwarf's actor. Like same thing with him. Like he like Gimli. Like his actor is like 6 foot, I think.
Nope, they did the same thing for Gimli.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just built everything way bigger.
It must have been huge armor then too, because his armor looked a little like big on him sometimes. Man, that's crazy.
The guy that played Gimli would have to sit and get his makeup done for 4.5 hours every day.
Jesus. Dude, they went all out. I can't imagine being on the set of this, of making these movies. Like just the setup alone.
Yeah.
Would be so intense and like so involved. Like I don't think any other movie ever will do what the Lord of the Rings did.
Well, that's also like why The Hobbit went CG, was because they had like pretty much like the original director of the Hobbit trilogy. He was supposed to it wasn't Peter Jackson, it was Guillermo del Toro, but he stepped off because of creative differences. And then they brought in Peter Jackson and were like, hey, you have to film this entire trilogy like you did the Lord of the Rings, but you only have like 6 months to film the whole thing, which I'm pretty sure the Lord of the Rings, they had 18 months. So like, that's why he went CG, because that was like, he literally couldn't put in the same amount of effort that he did for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Wow. I wonder if it would have been that much better if like maybe he would have gone the practical route if Hollywood wasn't shitty.
The Hobbit broke Peter Jackson.
Well, that definitely, I mean, that speaks a lot to the cinematography of the film, but like just in general, not only the practical effects, but like the shots and everything and the direction is, I think, some of the best in cinema. Like just like even the shots where there is CG, it's so believable for the time and it looks amazing. The sweeping shots over like a big grassy field where they're running, the shots of like the river, where they're crossing the river and the Nazgul is chasing like the elf and Frodo, Arwen and Frodo. That is insane. I love the little bit of slow-mo with the like, dude,
this movie made me want to go to New Zealand.
Yeah, is that where it was filmed?
Yeah, the whole trilogy.
That makes
My
sense.
My buddy's parents went to New Zealand and they went to Hobbit Town.
Yeah, because it exists, right?
Yeah,
It's like an actual
yeah, it's
place.
still there.
Do people like live in those little huts?
No, I think it's just like a tourist
I
attraction.
was gonna say that'd be kind of cool if people lived in there.
It's in Matamata, Waikato, New Zealand.
Holy
Wherever the
shit.
hell that is.
Maya, whatever. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that.
Matamata.
It's beautiful though, dude. Like the sweeping
And I
shots.
think, and I think the other thing, like how they like why has aged so well is like even when they do have to use CG, they use it in really smart ways. Where like if you guys notice, a lot of the time when they use CG, it's usually like in a dark scenario, so it doesn't show like we watched Phantom Menace for this podcast, and the CG aged so fucking bad for that, and they came out around the same time. But like so many of the scenes in like Phantom Menace were like out in broad daylight and the CG looks terrible because you can see all the details of the characters.
Yeah.
But like the CG in this, whenever it's CG, it's like usually in Mordor or it's at night, like where you can't, since it's darker, you can't see as much of the details. So
Or
you
it's
can
in
get
a
away.
dark mountain.
Yeah.
Inside of a
So
mountain.
the CG doesn't like point out as like being like terrible or anything because you just can't see it as well.
Yeah.
So it's pretty smart on their part for that too.
Yeah, like and then just combining the sweeping shots that there are, the beautiful shots of New Zealand with the music that it has, dude, it's like it's actually second to none. Like this is legit some of the best, like I think cinematography and score in all of cinema. Like the first one, yes, the trilogy as a whole, definitely. But I mean, let's go into like some of our favorite characters and some favorite scenes. To start us off, I think one of my favorite characters is actually Aragorn, because he's such a badass.
Basic.
Aragorn is P.
He's such a badass in this one, especially like some of my favorite scenes are the ones with like the Nazgul, the ring wraiths, because they're just so like I remember when I first watched these, I thought the ring wraiths were like the scariest fucking shit.
Oh
The way
yeah.
they scream.
Little Johnny Wood.
But the way they scream is like so menacing and even more menacing than the orcs, and they're like basically unkillable except for females, apparently, because no man can kill the Nazgul.
No man.
I am no man. I mean I mean that's Return of the King, but it's still so badass. It's hard to talk about Lord of the Rings without at least mentioning the other three or the other two. But yeah, the scenes with the Nazgul are amazing, especially like the bar where they're trying to hide and then they go to the top of that mountain and Frodo gets stabbed.
He gets stabbed like 3 times in this movie.
Yeah. But Aragorn is a badass, being able to literally fend them off from 5 Nazgul health. I think there's 9 total. But Aragorn's one of my favorite characters. In this one specifically, I would say like my favorite characters can change based on which Lord of the Rings movie it is.
And which watch through, honestly.
And which watch through, yeah, exactly. And my favorite movie changes on my trilogy watch through because I do it like yearly. But I love Aragorn. I love the scenes with the Nazgul and like Arwen when she's crossing the river with Frodo, running from the Nazgul.
That shit's badass.
It's so badass. Like the river, she like says some elvish like spell and the river like rises like crazy and it floods. And obviously Gandalf is amazing. Saruman is a badass villain.
Fucking Count Dooku.
Dude, Count Dooku, he's a villain in every movie.
He's just a menacing fuckhead. That's what he is. He's Count Dooku. He's the dentist in Charlie and the Chocolate.
Oh my god, he is. I forgot.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's Charlie's dad.
Yeah, he's just a menacing fuckhead. Christopher Lee is always a menacing fuckhead in every movie he's in. Yeah, R.I.P.
Absolutely.
Chris, dude, one of the things, he's one of the only actors that actually met J.R.R. Tolkien.
Really?
Yep. He was in war with him, dude.
Oh my gosh.
What the
Oh
hell?
shit.
World War I. You
What
know
the
the scene.
hell?
You know the
World
scene
War-
where
Wait.
It would have had to have been World War II, right?
well,
Yeah, because
Art
Christopher Lee was
Tolkien,
born in 1922.
Tolkien was in World War One.
Oh, the guy that wrote the books?
Yeah,
Okay.
but then I think you're right. Christopher Lee was in World War II. But the scene where Matt told me this, actually, Matt Willis told me this, John, that the scene where Sauron gets stabbed in the back.
Oh,
the-
yeah.
Peter Jackson, they tried to have him do something, and he's like, "Do you know what it's to stab a man in the back? Because I have." So that's like so funny. When he just goes, that's
Yeah.
because he stabbed someone in war, dude.
Oh, gosh.
I have seen that the trivia actually. I forgot where.
Yeah.
That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
That is crazy. And there's got to be comparisons between these movies and the wars.
There's
yeah,
there's supposed to be some
definitely.
it's supposed to be some allegory to World War II,
Yeah,
I think.
because I went. It's mostly World War One because I went to back to what I did lately. I went to Kansas City for my honeymoon, and we went to the National World War One Museum, and it said Tolkien was in there, was in the war. So I dug into it, and yeah, there's a lot of connections with World War One and
Yeah.
Dive
Lord of
into
the
it.
Rings and shit.
You've been there?
No, I said dive into it. That
Oh,
Well, I pretty much think how Mordor is Germany because they're sitting there just
yeah.
the Industrial Revolution. They're just building and building and building, and how here I have it right here. The comparison between Frodo and Sam is like Germany, or not Germany, but France and England,
and the
Yeah.
trench warfare too.
and the trench warfare, yeah, and all
The
that stuff.
standstill, everyone's dying.
Yeah, and then how when it's over, jump to Return of the King, how it's all over and everyone's just sad and depressed and everyone's leaving, and the world's just wrecked.
Yeah. Like literally Middle Earth is like a steaming pile of shit for a little bit.
Yep.
Damn. Yeah, it's really cool to make those comparisons. And I mean, like it's pretty obvious when you mention it too.
Yeah.
But I never really thought about it or looked into that.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
You saw that he was Tolkien was in the war,
Yeah.
like at the museum.
Yeah.
Man. What were you gonna say, Russell?
that is also you're saying Gandalf was one of your favorites, obviously. Like he's the in the entire trilogy, he's the only person with an acting nomination, and it was for this movie.
Yeah.
He was nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Gandalf.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
back to favorite scenes. One of my favorite scenes is when Gandalf and Saruman fight.
Is that? Oh yeah, yeah.
When they're doing the magic shit and they're throwing each other against the walls with their
I
staffs.
feel like that might be. Casey actually kind of laughed at the CG in it.
Yeah.
I thought it was badass when I first saw it. Maybe this most recent time, I was like, okay, like the spinning was kind of funny.
I thought it was funny in that scene specifically when Gandalf just like gets like thrown and he's just like flying up for like forever, just flying up, and that's how that scene ends. It's so funny.
Yeah, that's badass. Like Saruman, Gandalf, Aragorn, those are my three favorite characters, I think. And then like anything with the Nazgul, I love scene wise. And obviously, I think one of all of our favorite scenes would be "You shall not pass."
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Iconic. Like actually one of the most badass scenes in the entire trilogy. But Thad, why don't you go into more of your favorite characters and scenes?
Favorite characters would Gimli for sure.
Gimli's a
Dude,
badass.
that dude is a stud.
You guys also look very similar.
I know, right? I got that ginger
beard, the
going
ginger
on.
beard.
Marion and Pippin.
Really?
Yes, dude, I love those two, man. They're always they're little shitheads, man. They remind me of my kids.
Peregrine Took.
Yep.
You fool.
You fools.
What about second breakfast and
Yep.
fucking
Third breakfast.
I love when they're
I don't
when they're
think he
running
knows
through
about the breakfast.
when they're running through the
For a second.
cornfields.
Yeah.
When Sam and Frodo are leaving the city and they're running through the cornfields because they just stole from all this farmer.
It's so playful at first.
Yeah, they fall and Marion's like, oh, I think I
Yeah.
broke something. And he
The
pulls
first
out a
hour and a
chair.
half of this movie is like
Yeah.
the most lighthearted the series gets.
I know.
It's so dark after the first hour and a half of this movie.
And like the fireworks scenes.
Yeah.
Those are badass. The dragon. Oh my god.
In the book, Gandalf did have a firework that could transform into Smog, the dragon from Hobbit.
Oh, is that supposed to be Smog?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I figured it had to be. But that's badass.
yeah. That's it. Another scene with Marion and Pippin getting into trouble, lighting that
Yeah.
firework off and blowing everything up.
One
I
little
love
detail
that.
one detail I like is that in the Middle Earth like lore that Bilbo Baggins is the author of The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Like, because you know how he's like, oh, I have a name for my book, There and Back Again, because that's what The Hobbit is called, The Hobbit There and Back Again, I think.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny how Frodo.
Frodo writes his own story, The Fellowship of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's called The Lord of the Rings, actually.
yep,
in
there
the
we go.
end. It is called The Lord of the Rings. And what are some of your other favorite scenes that
Man, it's just definitely when they're running from the
That's
Balrog.
what,
ring wraiths?
oh,
yeah, the Rays, everything.
Yeah. I
It's
actually
just a damn
forgot
good movie, dude.
I
It's
forgot
all
to
good.
mention
I don't really have a
too,
favorite.
the second time Frodo gets stabbed is also
the
bad. The
the
cave
chainmail?
troll. Yeah, the cave troll.
Oh yeah.
That was so anxiety inducing
See,
when
I
I
was-
first watched it.
I forget that that's in the first movie, dude.
They all blend together. I feel like you
Mhm.
just gotta watch all three when you watch them.
Yeah, I think that whole scene where like one of the hobbits walks back and knocks that skeleton down the well.
Yeah, it was
And it's just-
Peregrine Took.
Yeah, that.
Pippin.
And then that whole scene where the orcs come in there. That whole scene is just amazing how they fight in that little chamber.
Yeah,
And Gimli hops up on the coffin. He's like, "Bring him on!"
he's so badass. That's
yeah.
one of Gimli's best moments, I think, in the entire trilogy.
Yeah, because his whole family was wiped out by the orcs, dude.
Yeah, and he got his revenge.
Yep.
He killed 40 or 60. I don't remember. He had his count.
Yeah.
Had his count. Their
And that's
count.
another little friendship I like. The little nitpicks between making short jokes between Gimli and Legolas.
Yes. See, that's the thing too. It's like the character building is just everyone has their own arc, and it all fits together so well with all of the characters, all of the movies, and the plot. It just everything is so damn good.
Yeah.
But Andrew, what are some of your favorite scenes and characters in Fellowship?
I think my favorite character, like you, John, is Aragorn. I think he's like a badass, especially at the end when he's fighting the huge orc. I don't think they say the orc's name in the movie, but the big main, like, he's like the main villain of that last part of
Yeah, the
movie.
badass orc. I
Yeah,
don't remember
like
his name.
when he's fighting him, and then the orc like stabs right next to him, and then he just like goes right back at him and kills him, is super badass. And I like
Cuts
that
his head
whole
off.
yeah, and cuts his head off. It's awesome. Like that whole last scene is my favorite scene, just because like seeing like Boromir just get like shot in slow motion, and he's like still fighting back everything is like super fucking epic. That whole last scene is definitely my favorite because it's like the one that I thought stood out the most to me.
They're really tasteful with the slow motion. in the
Yeah,
Lord of the
yeah,
Rings.
yeah. It was and then like I think the funniest scene, like we were talking about, is when Sam's like trying to swim and he's like just like fucking drowning. That's the
Dramatic
funniest
death.
scene. Yeah. But I think like the like the scene where they're like trying to hide from, what are the dudes on with the like headless horseman ass
The
motherfuckers?
ring wraiths.
Yeah, the ring wraiths.
Nazgul.
When they like just keep like trying to hide from them, and then the fucking other hobbits, when they're on that mountain, like they just make a shit ton of fucking noise, and then the ring wraiths all find them, and then like they stab Frodo. But like I thought that was like a very interesting scene, because it's like just highlights how much of fucking idiots the other three that he's with are. He's like Frodo's just like on a mission, and then these other three like numbskulls are just fucking everything up, which is like hilarious. But I mean that those are some of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Yeah, and then obviously, I mean, dude, just the "you shall not pass." That entire sequence in the mountain is insane.
And Gandalf's like death scene is like super fucking like badass too. Like all the deaths, all the main characters when they like die off are like not given like just like some shitty death. They're like all like super like memorable, like iconic deaths.
Exactly. And Gandalf the Grey's death scene.
Hold on. Not even like the part with the Balrog, but the whole scene of them running through that hall.
Yeah.
And all the goblins are coming down off the ceiling and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they surround him, and then you hear the Balrog just, and then they just scatter. They just scatter.
Dude, that's actually like.
And then Gandalf just goes, "Run!"
Run. And then like when he gets taken down by the, and then he's like, "Fly, you fools!
Fly!"
And Frodo, no, dude, it's so iconic. It's so.
Another thing I saw, it's like when the Hobbits saw Gandalf die, it's like watching their grandpa die. But when like Aragorn and Gimli, Legolas, that's like when Jesus died to them.
They're like, well, fuck. Now what?
Yeah, exactly.
Now what?
Gandalf the Grey.
They're literally like, well, this is fucked. This mission's done. Like all hope is lost almost at the end of Fellowship. And it starts off so playful too.
Also, hold on, another badass, not from this movie, but another badass scene from Gandalf was when he comes flying in on that eagle, dude.
Yeah, and I think his eagle is in this one, because I think it saves him from Saruman's tower.
Oh, yep, that's right. It picks him off the tower because he catches a fly and whispers to it.
Yeah, and then he drops off the tower.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think there's another scene though in like Return of the King with the eagle.
Yeah, he picks Frodo up.
And then he also, I think, attacks like the Nazgul's dragon.
Oh, yep, that's right. He calls in the eagles and they fuck up those dragons.
Call in the eagles.
The other like funny, like not specific scenes, but I know we had talked about the cinematography, but like the fucking thing I couldn't get over is how funny it is. There's just like random spots where the camera just like zooms in, but it like turns onto their faces at the same time. And it's like the funniest thing ever. Like, cause it's so like dramatic. Like the camera is just like.
And the Saruman and Gandalf fight?
No, like even when they're like talking, like when they're like just conversing, just at random points, the camera will just like circle and like zoom in on them. Like it'll be showing the whole big environment, and then it'll just like it'll zoom in on them, but it'll do it all in one shot, and it's like the camera's like swaying like a fucking bird.
Yeah, it'll be like a wide shot that like moves out and like or moves in, like
it like moves in and then it gets like really close. And it's never like straight on. It's always at a tilted angle too. It's fucking hilarious. Like a bunch of times when Gandalf is talking, specifically, they do it like a bunch. Like they zoom in and it's like crooked and he's like looking up towards the camera. It's so fucking funny.
Well, Ursula, why don't you get on some of your favorite scenes and characters? I know we've probably pointed out some of the most iconic scenes already, but
yeah. So I mean, favorite scene I think is definitely like when they're in that mountain and they're like running away from the Balrog, and when they have to, when they're just running away from the Balrog and the "you shall not pass," like, and then finally "fly, you fools." That whole sequence is like probably my favorite. But also I do want to give a shout out. I think really like my favorite scenes in this whole series are when he puts on the ring. And those scenes are so well done. Just the moments leading up to it, every time he puts it on, like he's trying to fight it, but like the temptation of the ring is like kind of getting to him and his eyes are like rolling back. And then every time he puts it on, it's like, it's this like shadow realm kind of thing going on where I just love the effects of it. I think they still have aged really well. And also like how when he puts it on, he can see, from wherever he is, he can see the eye of Sauron, like just looking at him, and I love the menacing like imagery of the whole, anytime he puts it on. Also in The Hobbit, those are my favorite scenes in The Hobbit too, when Bilbo wore the ring. But I especially love the scenes in this film and in any of the films. When we review Return of the King and Two Towers, you'll hear me saying the same thing. That those are some of my favorite scenes in the movie because when he wears the ring, first time he wears it, it's like on accident. But when he puts the ring on, it's like it's Frodo's back up against the wall, and he has no other option at that point but to do that. And he knows the consequences of wearing it because it's going to bring the ring rates. It's going to have Sauron know where he is. I love the dynamic that the ring brings to the whole film. It's bestowed upon the one character that is the most helpless in the whole film, surrounded by an effort from all races to look after it by people that are way stronger than him. And it's like everyone has to fight the temptation of like just taking this thing for themselves, and falling to like the power of this ring. And I love the idea that the ring's power matches to like how strong the individual is. Like for hobbits, it's just makes them invisible, but like if you're like Sauron, it's like you're fucking God essentially. But yeah, my favorite scenes are obviously the Balrog stuff, and then any scene that he's wearing the ring. I think is so well done, and always gives me goosebumps whenever he wears the ring. Especially that scene near the end when he runs from Boromir, and he like when he puts the ring on, and then he sees the eye of Sauron like just stare, like he like I don't know how I forgot how it does it, but like lifts him up and like he's like looking, it's like looking directly at Sauron. I think it's super cool. Yeah, the
music in those.
The Mordor theme. I don't know if that's what it's.
I think it is the Mordor theme. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's so cool. And the eye, I can't get over the imagery of the eye. It's so fucking iconic. The literally like even in like Return of the King, especially it comes to mind as like when the eye is just looking around and shit like ferociously, like it's like it's so good. Favorite characters. I'm gonna probably say the same thing as John here. Aragorn is a complete badass. And he continues his badass streak as each movie progresses continues.
Exactly.
The only thing I thought was weird about Aragorn, I mean, I'll save this for like my final thoughts, actually, but there's some weird things going on with some of the characters. Also Gandalf. I think Gandalf is the star of this film. There's a reason I think why his actor was nominated for an acting nomination, Ian McKellen. But yeah, those two characters in particular are kind of like the highlights. It's funny because I really liked Frodo the first time I watched this like trilogy, but and I still really do like Frodo. I know a lot of people hate Frodo. I actually do like Frodo a lot, but he's maybe not one of my favorites anymore.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Frodo has better performances in the later films, to be honest, especially the third. But
definitely.
But do you guys think that this is the best of the three, or do you guys have a favorite out of the three? I know Andrew maybe.
It's Andrew's favorite.
It's Andrew's favorite right now.
It's my favorite out of the ones I've watched.
What about you?
It's also my least favorite out of the ones I've watched. So there's that.
I like the Two Towers the best.
Okay, that is the craziest thing to me.
I like the whole how they get there. I like that, like where he runs into the spider. The
spider's in the third.
Spider's in the third one. They meet Gollum in the second one, though, right?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, that's the other shocking thing, that Gollum is like pretty much not in this first film.
No.
The only part he's in, like he has his voice. Baggins when he tells the orcs and Saruman where
and you see his eyes for a second. Like you see him like look for like when
at the very end, I think.
Where like Gandalf is like, it's like in the middle, like it's like, oh, that's
Gollum.
Yeah, like that's Gollum. Like he's been following us for 3 days.
That's Smeagol. He's been following us.
He used to be known as Smeagol until the ring.
And that's a whole nother crazy like way they could go. They can make a whole other story about him.
They're making they're making a Gollum video game.
No shit.
Yeah,
they are. Yep.
Sign me up.
Gollum is the true villain of
the worst thing that that Gollum ever did was direct Venom Let There Be Carnage.
He direct. Oh yeah. That's a
And-
terrible film. Terrible movie.
but now he's going to be Batman's butler. He's going to be Alfred.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that's
Andy
fun.
Serkis.
Interesting. I actually do think that The Fellowship is, at this moment, this last watch through, probably my favorite of the three. It's really hard to compare to like Return of the King, I feel like, because it just wraps everything up in a bow. But and there's so many iconic scenes too in that. But I think The Fellowship of the Ring for me is the most memorable in that I know what scenes are from Fellowship of the Ring. And for me, the second and third movies blend together a little bit more with some of their fighting scenes, especially. Like there's very similar siege warfare kind of almost trench warfare scenes in the Two Towers and Return of the King. But Ursula, what's your favorite of the three?
Yeah, so I think Fellowship of the Ring might have the best like standalone quality because it is the first one, and like it's a little more of a lighter watch, at least for the first half. Pretty much like anything after the first half of this movie is like they're in it. I mean, like like everyone is like all hands on deck, like this is happening. Really,
Really?
in the whole trilogy, the first half of this movie is like kind of where most of the levity really is. It's a lot really front loaded. But it's not my favorite. My favorite is Return of the King. So it's kind of funny that we all gave a different answer. I think it's super interesting that Thad said the Two Towers because up until this most recent watch, everyone has pretty much the consensus has been that Two Towers is the worst. And like I've never heard anyone say Two Towers is their favorite, but
I've heard other people, like my cousin Megan. I know she listens to these, but she told me most recently that was her favorite. Was the two?
but that's what I was gonna say. The person I watched it with, Jim, he said Two Towers is his favorite too. And now
Really?
Dad said Two Towers is his favorite. I'm like, what the fuck? Like
The
yeah,
true
maybe-
fans love
Yeah.
the Two Towers.
to me, Two Towers is also my least favorite because it's kind of just that middle chapter. It's to me, it's definitely the one that blends in between the other two. I just love Return of the King because I think it sticks the landing so well, and that's like a really big plus. It's the one of the three that, I'll be honest, I've cried during Return of the King. Like,
Oh,
especially-
same.
yeah, Return of the King fucks me up, which is a big kind of positive. It makes me tear up.
Dude, the end, man.
Yeah, without getting into it. But yeah, no, the Return of the King is my favorite because obviously it's just the culmination of everything. It's where everything's leading up to. But I do think Fellowship of the Ring is a very close second. And I can totally see why. Shit, they're all fucking amazing.
They're all so amazing.
Yeah. But I would say Return of the King is my favorite. But I think this is the best standalone watch. If for some reason you wanted to just watch one of them, this is the best one to watch just for I can't imagine any situation where someone maybe, but like I personally wouldn't just randomly throw out Two Towers or the King. Like,
without watching the first.
Yeah, you like have to watch the first one. You have to with those two, you have to start from the beginning. But like with this one, this is the beginning. So maybe you could just watch this one by itself. I don't know. So that's kind of where my thought comes in with that.
Well, we've talked about a lot actually. Maybe we just get into some of our final thoughts and like a rate.
Yeah, we kind of ranked the trilogy, just all of us. Well, actually, I did. I don't know if you guys did, but yeah, we could go through a rate.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's just
Final thoughts. Yeah.
Final thoughts, rating, out of 10, and then maybe ranking your films or ranking the films. Andrew can't. Ursel just did. Me and Thad didn't yet.
I could.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and start, actually, Ursel, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, look, that. I promise, guys, after this month, we will not be talking about such highly acclaimed things. But like this is it's hard. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. In every medium, right? There's something that like a trilogy, really, right? That's the best way to put it. in music, it's literally trilogy. It's, you know, in like video games, it's like Mass Effect. In movies, it's like Lord of the Rings, where it's like a trilogy that you view it as one encompassing package, as opposed to 3 individual films. So my rating isn't going to necessarily match up with how highly I view this film, because this film put together with the other two as one big package is in my top 10, favorite movies. Lord of the Rings as one big package. But as an individual film, on its own merits, it doesn't maybe hold up as like, I mean, I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think going through this watch through, right, 20 years later, 20 years after this film has come out, it just shows, like, with so much that has come out since then, why this film works so well, why this movie is the best. Like, like, seriously, we're talking about like standums. It's criminal that this film doesn't, this series doesn't have as much of a following, I feel like, as things that honestly just are not as good, like Game of Thrones.
Star Wars.
Yeah, 100% Star Wars is not as good as Lord of the Rings, honestly. The most franchises aren't. This is arguably, potentially, you could argue, the best movie trilogy ever made. The characters are all iconic, and it does such a great job at world building, get really engrossed and get into this world. And this is kind of what I was talking to my friend about, is like, some of my favorite fantasy worlds, sci-fi worlds, are the ones that they do such a good job at world building that it feels like these places could exist, like when you turn off the TV and you walk away, it feels like that place still exists in its own world. Like, that's how I feel about like Star Wars, or especially Harry Potter. Even though I'm not a big Harry Potter guy, I can recognize Harry Potter has like amazing world building.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about Lord of the Rings. This is one of those movies where, this movie starts off with like a kind of an exposition dump, the first like 10 minutes or so. But I think this is a movie, like a prime example where it works out really well. And I think it's kind of needed with how dense the lore is. And this movie just feels so epic. This whole trilogy feels so epic and grand scale, even just right off the bat with this first film, you can tell this is how big of a deal this is for that universe. And like, all of these races are coming together to help Frodo get to that mountain. The elves, the dwarves, the humans, everyone. My own, like I said, I mean, like, the only cons I could probably throw at it is, as a standalone film, it's clearly unfinished. And the only thing I noticed, honestly, with a con is it felt like everyone, it's like, this is going to sound like a weird statement, but it felt like the characters in this movie were given the script of this movie and knew what was going on. Like, and let me explain, like, and maybe I missed the explanation for it, but like, how did Aragorn, like, when they show up at that inn at the beginning, know like who they are, like what is going on? Like, it felt like everyone across this entire world knew exactly what was happening, and like everyone was coming straight to the rescue. Like,
Yeah.
I wish there was like a little bit of an explanation for like how characters knew the information that they had.
I think maybe for Aragorn, it was the fact, like, he was like, "Oh, I'm a ranger or whatever," and I'm just like, I know what's going on, and I think it's the fact that he is who he is, and maybe like is aware of the power that Frodo was carrying, but I don't know if it was said in black and white. That did
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm just taking a little guess. When they met in the inn, Sam was running around telling everybody that he's with Frodo and they're carrying the ring.
Oh no, Pippin! I think.
Oh
Pippin
yeah,
said
one
something.
of those little fuckers were doing it.
Or like, like
And
another
then Frodo,
example.
and then Frodo fell, and the ring went on his finger in the middle of the bar, and he
Yeah.
went.
Oh, I think that was when.
So I feel like that's kind of when Aragorn's like, "Oh shit, we need to get you out of here."
But he was
Yeah.
looking at him before that.
Because
Yeah.
Aragorn was just sitting there in the corner smoking on a pipe.
And
Yeah.
like, the only other example that comes to mind is like when like Gandalf is like talking to the hobbits, right? And he's telling them about like Smeagol, and he's like, yeah, Gollum told the orcs that like he like while he was being tortured in Mordor that like
Yeah.
he yelled or he like said
Baggins.
Baggins Shire.
Shire,
And I was like, I get that like Gandalf is probably supposed to be like an all-encompassing like Jesus like figure, but like there's like moments like that where I'm like, but like how do you know that? You know, like how do you know that he said that? Because you weren't there, you know, like so it's like small, it's like a nitpick, really. There's a little bit of jazz hands going on, which honestly I'm willing to excuse because there's so much, they're balancing so many plates and not dropping any of them for the whole trilogy, honestly. But yeah, like I said, the world building, the characters, it's top of its class. It's second to none. And there's been so many fantasy worlds, sci-fi worlds, things like that that have shown how you can fumble the bag with those sorts of things. And you know, like if you don't believe that it's one of the best movies of all time, like I mean, just even look at the fucking Oscars. Like you're never gonna see a fantasy film win Best Picture, win 11 Oscars, be nominated for Best Picture 3 times in a row.
Wild.
That just shows like how, you know, I would have loved to be around like an adult, like this age that I am right now when these movies
came
were first,
out?
when these movies were first coming out. Because I mean, dude, when these were some of the these were like the highest grossing films besides Titanic. Like when these films came out, these were like the MCU, like these movies were big deals when they came out. And it shows like, you know, and I'm really, you know, I'm glad that it's living on through a TV show, even though I'm not that excited about it. But seriously, this film is fantastic. And Peter Jackson, like this couldn't have been adapted in any better way. I don't think I really don't have any complaints. And I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10 because I think when I put all 3 movies together, they're 10 out of 10. But for now, I'm going to give it a 9.5. I absolutely love this entire trilogy, but specifically this film, 9.5. It's my second favorite. I love all the characters. I love the world building. The soundtrack is fucking amazing. Everything is top of the fucking line. This is like the best shit that you'll come across in cinema. It is so fucking good. And seriously, for a fantasy world, it doesn't get better than this. If you're into fantasy or any like make-believe shit, like seriously, if that's like the type of shit you're into, like Star Wars, anything like that, watch this if you haven't. It's literally better than Star Wars, in my opinion. Maybe besides Empire Strikes Back. And it's better than like Game of Thrones, definitely. It's better than any of that shit. Seriously, it's so good. I want to watch the other ones right away, but I'm generally holding off because I know that we're going to review them at another point, you know.
Yeah, I want to watch them again, even though I watched them a month ago.
But did I give my score? Did I say 9.5? Yeah, I think it's Okay, yeah, 9.5.
Thad, why don't you go ahead and give your final thoughts, rating, and review?
Well, shit, he just covered it.
Yeah, I know.
But we want to hear it come from you.
Very well said.
But no, it's just seriously a great film. The way they did it, how they did it, the money they spent doing it, the people, the just the amount of people that had to make this movie was insane. Actors are amazing. The plot, even the whole story. Like you just can't. Yeah, you talk about one movie, you just start talking. It just jazz hands, like you said, is everywhere because everything runs together. You definitely go watch this movie if you haven't, and if you're a big reader, read the books because it'll go way more in depth than what you will see on the movie. And I will give it a fucking 10. Go out and watch this whole series. It's great, but this is not my favorite. Like I said, my favorite's the Two Towers, and then this is probably my least favorite of the 3. But it's still a good story to get started on.
To say the least favorite of the Lord of the Rings, it's still like they're
still love it. Yeah,
exactly.
But I totally give the whole series a 10. This one I would give a 7.
Oh shit.
But it's a solid 7. You can only go up from there.
Okay. Sweet. Well, Andrew, maybe do you want to give your final thoughts and a rating review of Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring?
Okay, damn. I thought I was going to be the one that had to be the sourpuss and give it a low score, but I guess guess I won't be this time. I think for me, obviously, as a background, this is the first Lord of the Rings movie I've ever watched, so I'm basically judging this as a standalone film. Um, my rating will probably change as we go through the trilogy. Obviously, sounding like it's kind of the trilogy could be considered like one big work.
Yeah.
Instead of three individual movies. I think the world building's super awesome. I think like the whole fantasy aspect. I love like all the like fictional worlds like Star Wars, Harry Potter, that stuff. The environments in all three of those are really cool and definitely contribute to the movies themselves just because it's like, you know, you like leave. It's one of those movies where you're like, man, like I want to go on an adventure like that shit. Like that's awesome. like that type of stuff. I think using practical effects is definitely awesome. I love practical effects compared to like CGI now. I think like the way that they had to, well, I mean, even though there are some like obviously CG things in the movie, but not as much as like modern movies. Like having the practical effects and having that early 2000s feel, I think really contributes to the environment. I think the whole premise of what their journey is also super fascinating. It's like kind of this like defeat evil, you know, kind of like a simple thing, but they throw enough, you know, variation in there that's not just like, oh, bad guy, let's go kill bad guy. Like let's finish adventure. To get it away from like basic stuff like that. I think the main problem with it that I have is similar to what I had an issue with when we reviewed Dune, is that this movie, considering I've seen none of the other two, feels like it doesn't really have like a resolve. It's just setting up for the second and third movies. It's like a very like story building area. Like when I think of like trilogies, I think of like the original trilogy in Star Wars. Like the first episode of Star Wars didn't like built the setting, but didn't like leave it open ended. Like Luke blows up the Death Star at the end, and then like they could have stopped there and just had a standalone movie. But like this movie, when you watch it, and especially when I watched it and it was over, I'm like, man, like I feel like the movie didn't really finish. Like it's just like open ended. And I know I mentioned that with Dune, and I know Dune they're planning on doing a trilogy or two or three movies or something, anyways. But like it just felt like I'm rating it as a standalone movie. I felt like I finished watching the movie and felt very empty because there was like no like, I mean, besides that final battle that I really liked, there wasn't really like a huge common enemy that died. And I think that's one thing I think Star Wars does better as is the standalone movie aspect, because all the movies like end and you could just end there and be satisfied. But I feel like this, the way it was built, especially if they were like filming them all consecutively, is just kind of naturally going to happen. And I think that's what kind of detracted from the experience for me. And like I said, I think my rating will go up when I watch the second and third ones when we eventually review those. But right now my rating is a 8 out of 10.
Damn, okay. Well, let me get into my final thoughts and rating, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So obviously, especially you guys can probably tell that I fucking love this movie, especially the fact that it is my favorite of the three, at least right now. It does change on each watch through, I feel like, but for right now, Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite of the three. I love the beginning monologues with the Sauron as his human form, as human as he gets, fighting in the war. Like starting it off with that is incredible. And the amount of people, like you said, Thad, that it took to make this movie and all of them, and the amount of work that it took, and the amount of money that it took, and the fact that this was made in the 2000s, the early 2000s, and it still holds up like it does today is just absolutely wild. Literally, for me, I'm gonna like give my score and then give thoughts, because this is an easy 10 out of 10 for me, along with the rest of the series, because it's just no movie and nothing else has touched, to me, what the Lord of the Rings has done. Nothing else is even close to doing what it
I
has done
agree.
in terms of character building, in terms of score, cinematography, practical effects, the scope, the pure scope of these movies is absolutely wild. And it definitely, I give 10 out of 10s to things that push the industry forward, in my opinion. And it's crazy because I feel like Lord of the Rings, it didn't necessarily push the industry forward. It set a bar that no one else has even got to.
That's a
In
good way
my
to put
opinion.
it.
Yeah, it's like it didn't push the industry forward. The industry's still trying to catch up. Like the industry is still trying to capture that magic that the Lord of the Rings created. And it all began with the Fellowship of the Ring. And there's so many memorable and iconic moments from this movie specifically that whenever I'm thinking of the Lord of the Rings, I always think of "You Shall Not Pass" from Gandalf, and I think of the cave scene with the cave troll and the fighting the orcs at the end even, and the Nazgul and running from them, the ring wraiths. Like whenever I think of Lord of the Rings, I immediately think of scenes specifically from this one. And to me, the second two blend together a little bit. Um, but the series as a whole is an easy, fat, fucking 10 out of 10. Like, I would, it's hard to say that one individual movie from here is like my favorite movie of all time. But as a package deal, it is probably at the top of my favorite movies of all time, which is insane because there's a lot of great fucking movies out there that we haven't talked about yet. But it's wild. It's the scope of it is insane. It hasn't been matched, in my opinion, by anything else in the industry. The music is bar none the best of any other movie that I've ever seen. The soundtrack is stuck in my head right now. And even I haven't seen this one specifically for about a month, but I can pick out songs and I can like run through the movie in my head and I can think of all the music and the cinematography, like I said, is insane. The sweeping shots, the attention to detail, and there's no mistakes that I can see. There's nothing that I could point out that is cringy, except for maybe Samwise almost drowning at the end. But there's nothing I
That
can
wasn't even
point out.
cringy. It's just funny as fuck.
There's nothing I could point out that's like a glaring mistake, and it's or like a glaring issue with the film, and it's really easy to do that with any other movie, honestly, or many other movies. And yeah, we've been reviewing a lot of elite shit lately, but we swear we'll get some stinkers in there. We'll get some more Venom content out there.
Just
for you
wait till
guys.
Uncharted comes out next month.
Oh, yeah.
The Uncharted film, yeah. But yeah, I can't say enough about Fellowship of the Ring or the Lord of the Rings in general. Andrew, I know that if you sit down and watch the other two, I would recommend doing it before we review them so that it's all fresh in your head. But dude, this package it's so good. Like Casey loved Harry Potter. She thought those were like her favorite movies of all time. And I had to convince her to watch Lord of the Rings because she was like, "Oh, it's like a not as good version of like Harry Potter, right? Like
Cringe.
Gandalf is like Dumbledore," and I'm like, "No, Dumbledore is like Gandalf. Like, dude, this is the pinnacle. The Lord of the Rings is the pinnacle of cinema.
Yeah, how could you disrespect Gandalf like that?
Right. It's unmatched, dude. Nothing can touch the Lord of the Rings, in my opinion. 10 out of 10 easy for Fellowship, and 10 out of 10 easy for the package deal.
Can't spoil your reviews for future episodes, bro.
I know. It's like this was kind
I'm
of an
kidding.
all-encompassing Lord of the Rings episode, low key, but not exactly. I'd like to definitely review the others at some point, but it's incredible. I can't say enough about it. But I think that wraps us up. Do you guys have any final thoughts that you'd like to say about the Lord of the Rings in general or Fellowship? Okay. Well,
I think that brings our score. I was just doing the calculation.
We always do that. I forgot about
that. So 9.5 for me, 7 from Thad, Andrew 8, John 10. Honestly, a really scattershot range. I was kind of surprised. But that brings our overall score, all four of us, to an 8.6. I think if you just took me, Andrew, and John, it would be 9.1. But I'm not sure how that is still only our second guess, so I don't know how we've decided what the official score is, but I'll say right now it's all four of us, so that's 8.6 out of 10 for Fellowship of the Ring. There you go.
Perfect. Well, Thad, thank you so much for hopping on the pod.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate having guests. You're our second official guest. Hopefully we'll be getting some more guests on soon, but it's always fun. It's fun getting a fourth back in.
Hell yeah, I'm gonna have to go down and have to get off this and go download some Fortnite, eh?
Yeah, buddy. Get on that Fortnite grind with us.
One of us.
One of us. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I'm glad that we got to talk about the Lord of the Rings. I've been wanting to talk about this since the podcast started. Andrew watched the other two. I'm gonna give another watch through probably after this. Every time we talk about something,
me too.
I don't even care, dude. It's been a month. I'm gonna watch them again because they're just that good. But this is John signing off. Thank you everyone for listening. We'll catch you next week.